Change Mr. Hayes to Professor Hall to align with the guidelines for the University Placement Officer character, distinguishing him from the part supplier. Narrative alignment. The English text initially included a birthday party scene that was not present in the provided Chinese source text. Has been adjusted to end exactly where the Chinese source ends, with Ethan repairing the computer and anticipating giving it to Grace to ensure accuracy. Source text verification. The woodpecker joke and milk mustache scenes were verified against the provided Chinese text, which appeared in the unnumbered block following, and retained. The evening sky was bruised with purple as Wayne Tank Turner pedaled hard, giving Ethan Ford a lift home on his bike. As they passed a small electronics store near the commercial district, Ethan tapped Tank's shoulder. Hold up, Tank. Stop here. What's uppy, man? I'm buying a phone. Can't survive without one these days. Ethan hopped off the back pegs. Wait here, I'll be quick. The shop was cramped, the glass counters cluttered with pagers, chunky landlines, and the latest cell phones. There was also a section for trade-ins. Ethan went straight for the prize, a second-hand Nokia 3310. Brand new, these bricks went for about $150. The shop owner, a guy with grease under his fingernails, opened the bidding on the used one at $80. Ethan leaned in, turning on the charm and the hard logic of a seasoned haggler. After 5 minutes of back and forth, he walked the guy down to $60. He threw in another $20 for a prepaid SIM card with a decent block of minutes. $80 total. Ethan fiddled with the gray device, feeling the satisfying weight of it. The 3310 was the king of the hill right now. Indestructible, reliable, capable of SMS, and crucially, it had Snake. Finally, I'm connected. Ethan stepped out, flashing the device at Tank. Feast your eyes, Tank. We are now mobile. No way. Let me see. Tank grabbed it, treating the plastic brick like it was made of gold. Man, I've seen these in ads, but never held one. Ethan showed him how to text and navigate the menu. Tank looked at him with pure hero worship. Don't drool on it. Ethan laughed, clapping him on the back. Stick with me. Once we start raking it in, I'll get you one too. For real? E-man, I love you, bro. Tank shouted, causing a passerby to stare. Easy, Tiger. I don't swing that way. It's getting dark, let's roll. It was past 7 when Ethan walked through his front door. The smell of meatloaf and savory gravy hit him instantly. Smells amazing, Mom. What's the occasion? Ethan called out, kicking off his shoes. Mary Ford walked out of the kitchen, wiping her hands on a dish towel. Look who finally decided to come home. You've been running around all day while Grace has been here helping me with the chores. Go wash up. Dinner's ready. Ethan looked over to the living room. Grace Miller was sitting on the sofa, watching TV with the posture of an angel, though he knew better. She turned to look at him. Where did you and Tank go, Ethan? She asked, her tone carrying a hint of accusation. Didn't think to invite me? Ethan walked over, lowering his voice. Relax. We were just fixing some computers. Why? Did you miss me after only one day? Grace's cheeks flushed pink. In your dreams. Only an idiot would miss you. She huffed, turning her nose up. Ethan, after you stuff your face, come with me. I have something for you. Ethan paused. For me. You'll see after dinner, she said mysteriously. Ethan scratched his head. What was she plotting? Was this a prank? He'd have to keep his guard up. He washed his hands and sat at the table just as his father, Frank Ford, walked in, looking exhausted. Dad, late shift? Ethan asked. Union meeting, Frank sighed, sinking into his chair. The guys at the mill are organizing a committee to go downtown and demand answers about benefits. I had to stay for the vote. He shook his head. Tri-State Steel is a mess. I heard George Miller got sent to Pittsburgh to talk about a merger with U.S. Steel. The guys aren't happy. Ethan nodded silently. He knew the history. Tri-State Steel wouldn't survive the next year. It was just one of thousands of factories in the Rust Belt about to go under or be swallowed up. The great layoff wave was coming. It'll be okay, Dad. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it, Ethan said reassuringly. No shop talk at the table, Mary chided, bringing out a serving bowl. Eat. Dinner was a feast. Meatloaf, mashed potatoes, green beans with bacon, and a clam chowder that was surprisingly good. Ethan knew Grace's presence had inspired the upgraded menu. After dinner, Grace and Ethan went downstairs to walk it off. The residential compound was quiet, the amber streetlights casting long shadows. Okay, Grace said, stopping him and covering his eyes with her hands. Don't open them. Why? You trying to jump me? Ethan teased. In your dreams, pervert. Grace sputtered. I told you I have a surprise. Keep them closed. She removed her hands. Ethan cracked one eye open. Grace was standing right at him. Uh-huh. You peeked. You are so untrustworthy. I didn't see anything, I swear. Turn around. Face the wall. Don't move. She grabbed his hand. Her skin was soft, warm, and spun him around. Ethan squeezed her hand for a second before she pulled away. Hey, let go, she whispered, though she didn't sound truly angry. Ready yet? Hold on. He heard her footsteps recede, then the clicking of a bicycle chain. A moment later, she returned. Okay, turn around. Ethan turned. Grace was standing there, beaming, holding the handlebars of a brand-new, metallic blue Schwinn mountain bike. She'd spent 2 years of her save allowance on it. Almost $130. Ethan's old bike was a rust bucket that threw its chain every other mile. She wanted him to have something reliable. This is for me? Ethan asked, staring at the bike. Yeah, do you like it? Ethan felt a pang of conflicting emotions. He just bought a phone and was planning to buy a car soon. And here she was, spending her life savings on a bike for him, so he wouldn't have to walk. It's amazing, Ethan said, forcing a bright smile. Grace, this is incredible. You don't look excited, she said, her smile faltering. If you don't like it, I can return it. No, are you kidding? I love it. It's a Schwinn. Ethan grabbed the handlebars. Man, this must have cost a fortune. Every penny I had, she admitted proudly. I'm touched. Seriously, come here. He pulled her into a hug. Ethan, you're squishing me. I need a shoulder to cry on. I'm so happy. He buried his face in her hair. She smelled like vanilla and rain. Okay, get off. She pushed him back, then hooked her arm around his neck in a headlock. Don't think a hug gets you out of being a jerk. Ow, Uncle. Ethan tapped her arm. The guillotine. Illegal move. You deserve it. They broke apart, laughing. Just then, Mary walked out of the building carrying a trash bag. She froze. Ethan and Grace froze. To Mary, it looked like they were entangled in a very intimate embrace. Mom, we were just wrestling, Ethan said quickly. Grace immediately let go and smoothed her shirt. Hi, Mrs. Ford. Just helping with the trash. She grabbed the bag from Mary's hand and sprinted toward the dumpster. Mary gave Ethan a look. Son, are you bullying Grace again? No, she had me in a headlock. Be nice to her, Mary warned, heading back inside. Grace jogged back. Did she buy it? She thinks I'm a bully. Thanks for that. Grace giggled. Come on, let's test drive this thing. I'll ride on the pegs. Where to? The downtown strip. I want a milkshake. Hop on. The downtown strip. A few blocks near the river where the old brick warehouses had been converted into shops and eateries, was the go-to spot for everyone from the steel mill. It had diners, bars, street vendors, and neon lights. Ethan parked the new bike at the edge of the strip. Seems a bit quiet tonight, Grace noted. The sidewalks were usually shoulder to shoulder on a Saturday, but tonight the crowd was thin. The looming layoffs at the mill were making people tighten their belts. What do you want to check out? Ethan asked. Let's look at clothes, Grace suggested. Or maybe... I'm buying, Ethan said. They wandered through the stalls. Grace, despite her tomboyish energy, loved to shop. She stopped at a booth selling accessories and clothes. Her eyes landed on a display of bras. Looking for something specific, honey? The older woman running the booth asked with a wink. Lace? Cotton? Just looking. Grace mumbled, face heating up. Ask your boyfriend, the woman chuckled. He's the one who has to look at it, right? Grace turned beet red. He's not my boyfriend. Could have fooled me, the woman laughed. You two make a cute couple. Grace picked out 2 beige ones with lace trim. How much? $15 each. $30. Grace bit her lip. Maybe next time. Ethan stepped in. We'll take them. He slapped the cash on the table. Ethan, my treat. Consider it a thank you for the bike. The woman bagged them up, grinning. He's a keeper, sweetie. They walked away, Grace holding the bag like it contained contraband. You didn't have to do that. You need support. I provide support. Ethan deadpanned. Grace pinched his arm hard. Shut up. Next, they hit the food stands. They grabbed corn dogs and wandered down to Old Lynn's Diner, a walk-up window famous for its dessert shakes and sweets. They grabbed a plastic table on the patio. What do you want? Ginger vanilla shake, Grace said. I'll get the coconut sago. And don't steal mine, Ethan warned. I won't. 2 shakes and an order of fries. Ethan ordered from Mr. Lynn. Coming right up. Mr. Lynn leaned out the window. Ethan, Grace, haven't seen you two in a while. Studying hard. SATs are coming up, Grace said. Good. Don't spend all your time making eyes at each other, Lynn teased. We aren't, Grace protested, but Lynn was already back at the blender. Why does everyone think we're dating? Grace grumbled, stabbing a fry. Because I'm irresistible, Ethan smirked. And you're here. You wish. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, just people watching. Grace finished half her shake, then eyed Ethan's coconut drink. Is yours good? Don't even think about it. Just 1 sip. Fine. 1 sip. Grace grabbed his cup and took a massive gulp, draining half of it. Hey, Ethan snatched it back. Oops, she burped. It was good. Ethan shook his head, then reached over with his spoon and scooped a huge chunk of her ginger vanilla ice cream. Hey, that's mine. Thanks, Ethan said, eating it. I hate you. You love me. I'm going to bite you. You're a dog in a human suit. And you're a pig. That makes you a cabbage. Pigs eat cabbage. D. As they bickered, a small girl in a floral dress approached them, carrying a basket of red roses. Flowers? Flowers for the pretty lady. The girl looked up at them with big eyes. No thanks, sweetie, Grace said softly. The girl turned to Ethan. Mister, buy a flower for your girlfriend? $5. Grace rolled her eyes. Kid, you're barking up the wrong tree. Ethan looked at the girl. It was late for a kid to be out working. How much for the whole basket? The girl paused. For all of them? I have 15. Here's $20. Keep the change. Ethan handed her the bill. Wow. Thanks, mister. She shoved the bundle of roses into his arms. Have a happy marriage. She skipped away. Marriage? Grace facepalmed. These kids. Wait, what are you doing with all those? For you, Ethan said, holding out the bouquet. Grace froze, staring at the red blooms. For me, Grace pointed at herself. Well, I don't look good holding roses, Ethan smiled. Take them. Grace took the bundle, her face softening into a genuine smile. Okay, I'll accept them. Reluctantly, she smelled them. They're nice. Do whatever you want with them. I'm going to keep them alive forever, she declared. They rode back to the compound. As they locked up the bikes, Tank walked out of the shadows. Whoa, E-Man. Grace. Roses? Tank wiggled his eyebrows. Finally made a move, huh? Grace blushed furiously. Shut up, Tank. They were on sale. She turned and ran up the stairs. I have to put these in water. Tank nudged Ethan. On sale. Kid was selling them. Felt bad. Ethan shrugged. Sure. Tank gave him a thumbs up. Grace rushed into her apartment, found a vase, filled it with water, and arranged the roses. She sat at the dining table, staring at them. She'd received flowers from boys at school before, but these felt different. The next morning, 8:00 a.m., Ethan and Tank rode their bikes to the commercial alleyway behind 8th Street. From a distance, Ethan saw Henry Payne and his little sister, Hannah, sitting on the curb outside the shuttered shop unit. Ethan pulled up. Henry, you're early. Henry stood up quickly, dusting off his worn pants. Morning, Mr. Ford. Just want to be ready. How long have you been here? Since 6. Ethan sighed. Have you eaten? We still had some of the snacks you gave us. Ethan shook his head. Snacks aren't breakfast. He pulled a $10 bill from his pocket. Go to the deli on the corner. Get bagels, cream cheese, coffee, and milk for Hannah. And get enough for me and Tang, too. Henry hesitated, looking at the money. Go. It's an order, Ethan said gently. Yes, sir. Henry grabbed the money and sprinted off. Ethan unlocked the shop. It was a concrete shell. He had drawn up plans the night before. He wanted a modern, open-concept layout, something that would blow the competition out of the water. Tank, here's a list. Go to the rental center. We need a hammer drill, a chalk line, and a level. On it, boss. 20 minutes later, the four of them sat on the floor, devouring bagels. Henry ate like he hadn't seen food in a week, and little Hannah had a mustache of cream cheese. Slow down, Ethan said, handing Hannah a napkin. There's plenty. When the food was gone, Henry looked at Ethan with intense gratitude. Mr. Ford, I've never been this full. Stick with me, and you'll never be hungry again, Ethan said. We're going to fix this place up. I'm renting portable cots for you two to sleep in the back room until we get the renovation done. Then I'll help you find a real apartment. Henry's eyes welled up. I'll do anything. Just tell me what to do. Today, I'm teaching you how to chase walls. We need to run new electrical. It's dusty work. I don't care about dust. Ethan spent the morning teaching Henry how to mark the walls with a chalk line and use the hammer drill to carve out channels for the conduit. It was hard labor, but Henry attacked it with a ferocity that scared Ethan a little. The kid was desperate to prove his worth. Good job, Henry, Ethan said, inspecting a straight channel. You're a natural. Henry beamed. It was the first time in years anyone had praised him. Remember, Ethan said, wiping sweat from his forehead. Quality over speed. You're doing the electrical for the whole shop. If you rush it, the place burns down. Got it? Yes, sir. I won't let you down. Work hours are 8 to 12, then 3 to 5. Don't annoy the neighbors during nap time. By 5 p.m., they had made serious progress. Ethan checked his watch. He had cleaned up, changed his shirt, and was ready for his dinner meeting. Tank, let's go. We're meeting Sal. They headed to Sal's computer repair shop, then took a cab to the Golden Steer, a high-end steakhouse downtown. Sal Higgins was waiting for them outside, looking uncomfortable in a cheap suit. Ethan, my boy. Sal slapped his shoulder. Big night. I invited Professor Hall from the University Placement Office. He's bringing a star student. We're going to talk expansion. Ethan knew the game. Sal wanted Ethan to train cheap labor from the university so Sal could expand his business without actually paying Ethan what he was worth. Let's eat, Ethan said. So, we're really doing this? Tank whispered as they walked into the restaurant, eyeing the Mercedes and Cadillacs parked out front. Just follow my lead, Ethan said. Don't be intimidated. It's just dinner. They were led to a private booth. Sal ordered a round of appetizers. A few minutes later, the door opened. A portly man with a comb-over walked in, followed by a smug-looking young man in a varsity jacket. Professor Hall. Sal jumped up. So glad you could make it. Sal, good to see you. Professor Hall shook his hand, then turned his eyes to Ethan. And this must be the prodigy you told me about. Ethan Ford, Ethan said, extending a hand. His grip was firm, his eye contact steady. Professor Hall raised an eyebrow. He expected a shy nerd, not this confident young man. Pleasure. I'm Professor Hall, and this is Luke Barnes, one of my top computer science students at the university. Luke gave a limp handshake and a sneer. Hey, nice to meet you, Luke, Ethan said. I hear the CS program at the university is top tier. It is, Luke said, looking down his nose. Hard to get into. Where do you go? Community college. High school, actually. Oak Creek High. Senior year. Luke scoffed audibly. High school? Sal, I thought you said he was an expert. Professor Hall frowned slightly at Luke's rudeness, but didn't correct him. Sal jumped in. He is. Ethan is a wizard with hardware. They sat down. A waiter appeared. Wine list? Professor Hall asked. Sal looked panicked. He knew nothing about wine. Bring us. The house read. Ethan picked up the wine list the waiter had left. Actually, Ethan said smoothly, if I may, the 96 Cabernet for Napa on page 3 is excellent. Heavy tannins, notes of dark cherry. It pairs well with the ribeye Professor Hall is eyeing. The table went silent. Professor Hall looked at Ethan with new respect. You know wine? My father enjoys a glass on Sundays. Ethan lied smoothly. I've picked up a thing or two. I'll have a bottle of that, Professor Hall told the waiter. Excellent choice. As the wine was poured, Sal signaling the waiter to pour a glass for Ethan. Despite his age, this was a private room, and Sal didn't care about laws when money was involved. Professor Hall engaged Ethan. So, Ethan, Sal tells me you're fixing motherboards that the manufacturers say are trash. It's just logic, Ethan said, swirling his glass but not drinking. Trace the voltage. Most people give up at the first dead capacitor. Luke, feeling ignored, interrupted. It's just hardware hacking. The real future is software. I agree, Ethan said. That's why I'm focusing on C++ and Java. Specifically, the new JDK1. 2 libraries. The swing components are going to change UI development. Luke's jaw dropped. You know Java? I dabble. Professor Hall laughed, delighted. Sal, you found a diamond. A high schooler discussing JDK libraries? Incredible. Luke sank into his chair, defeated. Sal beamed. See? I told you. Now, Professor Hall, about that partnership. Ethan watched them. He knew exactly what Sal was doing. He was the bait. Sal wanted the university to funnel students to his shop for internships, where Ethan would train them for free and Sal would pocket the repair fees. Ethan, Sal said, leaning in, Professor Hall can send us 10 students next month. You teach them your repair tricks. We open 3 new locations. You'll be the chief technical officer. And the pay? Ethan asked. We split the profits. After expenses, of course, Sal said quickly. Ethan smiled. It's a generous offer, Sal, but I have SATs coming up and college applications. I just don't have the time to run a training academy. Sal's face fell. Ethan, don't be hasty. College can wait. This is a gold mine. Education comes first, Ethan said, channeling every responsible adult ever. Right, Professor Hall? Professor Hall nodded sagely. The boy's right, Sal. Can't skip college. He looked at Ethan. You have a bright future, son. Don't let Sal here corrupt you. The dinner ended with Sal looking frustrated and Professor Hall looking impressed. As they left, Professor Hall handed Ethan his card. Call me when you graduate. I might have some scholarship opportunities for you. Thank you, sir. Outside, Sal didn't even offer them a ride. He stormed off to his car. Ethan and Tank hailed a cab. That was intense, Tank said. Sal looked like he wanted to kill you. He realized he can't use me. Ethan said. Tank, never trust a guy like Sal. If I trained those students, he'd fire me the second they learn how to hold a soldering iron. Damn, cold world. Yeah, that's why we're building our own empire. They got back to the residential compound around 10. Ethan realized he reeked of secondhand smoke from the restaurant and the few sips of wine he'd had to maintain the charade. I can't go home like this, Ethan said, sniffing his shirt. Mom will kill me. Dad will bury the body. Sleep at my place? Tank offered. Your dad is home. He hates me. Ethan looked up at the apartment building. Grace's parents were out of town for the weekend. I'm going to Grace's, Ethan decided. Good luck, bro, Tank waved, riding off. Ethan felt the alcohol hitting him now. The adrenaline of the dinner was fading, leaving him dizzy. He climbed the stairs and knocked softly on Grace's door. Who is it? Grace's voice was muffled. It's me, Ethan. The door cracked open. Grace stood there in a long t-shirt, hair messy, rubbing sleep from her eyes. The hallway light caught the curve of her neck, and for a second, Ethan forgot how to breathe. Ethan, you smell like. Did you fall into a brewery? She wrinkled her nose. And cigarettes? Let me in, Ethan whispered, pushing past her. My mom's home. I can't go down there. He collapsed onto her sofa. You are unbelievable, Grace scolded, closing the door. You went out drinking? You're a high school student, Ethan. If your dad finds out. Sal, business meeting. Ethan mumbled, his eyes closing. Professor Hall. Wine. You're drunk. Grace sighed, hands on her hips. I should kick you out. Please don't. She looked at him. He looked defenseless, slumped on her floral cushions. Fine, but you owe me. She went to the bathroom and came back with a wet washcloth. She sat next to him. Hold still. She wiped his face. The cool water felt amazing. Ethan opened his eyes. Grace's face was inches from his. She looked concerned. Thanks, Grace. Shut up. You reek. She started unbuttoning his shirt. I'm not letting you ruin my sofa with that smoke smell. Take it off. Ethan smirked lazily. Taking advantage of me? Grace turned bright red. In your dreams. I just don't want the smell to set into the fabric. She helped him peel off the dress shirt. His skin was warm. Grace tried not to look at his chest, tried to ignore the fact that Ethan had filled out over the summer. Her heart did a traitorous little flip. Here. She threw a blanket over him. Sleep. If you throw up, you're cleaning it. Ethan drifted off. Sometime later, he woke up thirsty. His throat felt like sandpaper. Water. Grace, who had been reading in a chair nearby, sighed. She went to the kitchen and brought back a glass. She lifted his head, letting him sip. He drank greedily. Slow down, she whispered. As she lowered his head back to the cushion, Ethan's hand shot out, grabbing her wrist. Grace. What? She leaned in. Do you need a bucket? Don't go, he mumbled, his eyes half open, looking straight into hers. Stay. I'm right here. Ethan pulled. Caught off guard, Grace tumbled forward. Her face landed inches from his. Ethan. He didn't answer. He just looked at her with an intensity that made her toes curl. Then instinct or alcohol took over. He lifted his head and pressed his lips to hers. Grace froze. Her eyes went wide. It wasn't a movie kiss. It tasted like toothpaste and wine, but was electric. Ethan pulled back, his head dropping onto the pillow, and he was asleep again instantly. Grace scrambled back, touching her lips. Her heart was hammering against her ribs like a trapped bird. You jerk, she whispered, staring at his sleeping face. You steal my first kiss and then pass out. She grabbed a pillow and hit him in the face with it. He didn't move. Ugh. She stormed into her bedroom, slamming the door. She buried her face in her stuffed pig. He kissed me, and he won't even remember it. Grace barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she felt his lips. Around 3 a.m., she heard stumbling in the hallway. The bathroom door opened and closed. Then silence. She drifted off eventually. The morning sun hit her face like a laser. Grace groaned, rolling over. Her arm hit something warm, something solid. She opened her eyes. Ethan was sleeping next to her. In her bed. Grace screamed. Ethan jolted awake, flailing. What? Who's dying? He looked around. Pink walls. Stuffed animals. Grace staring at him with murder in her eyes. Why are you in my bed? Grace shrieked, kicking him. Thud. Ethan hit the floor. Ow. Grace, what the hell? Get out. Pervert. Wait. Ethan held up his hands. I woke up to pee. I must have walked into the wrong room. It was dark. Grace pulled the duvet up to her chin. Did we? No. I kept my pants on. Ethan checked. Mostly. Oh my God. Grace put her head in her hands. Just then, a knock at the front door. Grace? Are you up? It was Mary Ford, Ethan's mom. Ethan's eyes went wide. My mom. If she finds you here. Grace whispered, panic rising. Hide me. Where? Under the bed. Grace. Mary knocked again. Open up. I need to borrow some sugar. Grace jumped out of bed, smoothed her hair, and cracked the bedroom door, shouting toward the front. Coming, Mrs. Ford. I'm just changing. She shoved Ethan toward the closet. Get in. I'm not going in the closet. Get in. She slammed the closet door on him and ran to the front door. Hi, Mrs. Ford. Grace said, breathless. Mary looked at her. Everything okay? You look flushed. Just exercising. Morning calisthenics. Right. Have you seen Ethan? His bed hasn't been slept in. Ethan. Grace's voice squeaked. Oh, he stayed at Tank's. He called me. Said they were doing guy stuff. Mary sighed. That boy. All right. Thanks, Grace. Mary left. Grace locked the door and slumped against it. Is the coast clear? Ethan's voice came from the bedroom. He walked out, looking sheepish. You owe me, Grace said, pointing a finger at him. Big time. I know. Ethan grinned. Breakfast. You're buying. Deal. And Ethan. Yeah. Grace looked at him. She wanted to ask about the kiss. She wanted to know if he remembered. But looking at his clueless, hungover face, she knew the answer. Get out of my house. Yes, ma'am. Chapter 37. The next morning, the awkwardness had mostly evaporated, replaced by their usual banter. They rode their bikes toward school, the crisp air clearing the last of Ethan's headache. Stop, Grace yelled. Ethan braked. What? You promised. Breakfast tax. She pointed at a convenience store. I want a rocket pop. It's 7:30 in the morning. Did I stutter? Ethan sighed and went inside. He came out with 2 red, white, and blue popsicles. Grace unwrapped hers and took a bite. Breakfast of champions. Ethan watched her. She was eating it with distinct enthusiasm. You got some. He gestured to his lips. What? Never mind. They pedaled past a new storefront under construction near the school. A banner read, Cyber Cafe, opening soon. Grace slowed down. Through the window, they could see rows of beige computer towers being unboxed. Wow, Grace said. A cyber cafe. Yeah, the future, Ethan said. I wish I could go, Grace said wistfully. But it's $5 an hour? That's robbery. You want a computer? Ethan asked. Who doesn't? But my dad says they're too expensive. A decent one is like $2 grand. Ethan smiled to himself. Not if you know a guy. Come on, we'll be late. That afternoon, they were studying in Grace's room. Calculus, the bane of Grace's existence. I don't get it, she groaned, flopping back on her bed. Why do we need to know the area under a curve? I'm never going to use this. It's about logic, Ethan said, sitting at her desk. He spun around. Grace, look at this. She sat up. Her shirt hung loose. Ethan's eyes inadvertently dropped. Grace followed his gaze. She gasped, covering her chest. Ethan Ford. I wasn't looking. You were totally looking. She grabbed a pillow and launched herself at him. Attack. They wrestled on the floor. Grace trying to put him in a headlock, Ethan laughing and trying to fend her off without hurting her. Give up, she yelled, sitting on his stomach. Never. The door opened. Lily Miller, Grace's mom, stood there holding a tray of snacks. She stared at her daughter, straddling the neighbor's boy. Oh my, Lily said. Grace scrambled off Ethan so fast she almost hit the wall. Mom, we were just studying physics. Momentum. Ethan stood up, straightening his shirt. Hi, Mrs. Miller. Gravity checks out. Lily tried to hide a smile. I see. Well, I brought snacks. Milk for Grace, orange juice for Ethan. She set the tray down. Try to keep the physics experiments to a minimum, okay? She closed the door. Grace buried her face in her hands. I'm going to die. I am literally going to die of embarrassment. Your mom is cool. Ethan laughed. He picked up his juice. Grace grabbed her glass of milk. She took a huge gulp to calm her nerves, leaving a thick white mustache on her upper lip. Ethan stared at her. The sunlight from the window hit her face, illuminating the milk, her pink lips, her flustered cheeks. What? Grace asked, noticing his stare. She licked her lip. Ethan leaned forward, voice dropping an octave. Can I have a sip of your milk? Grace blinked. What? You hate milk. Maybe I changed my mind. Grace's breath hitched. For a second, the air in the room felt heavy, charged with the same electricity from the night on the sofa. Then the phone rang in the hallway. Saved by the bell, Grace whispered. Chapter 38. The phone call wasn't for Grace. It was for Ethan. Hello, Ethan? It's Mr. Gills down at Apex Electronics. Mr. Gills, what can I do for you? Ethan kept his voice professional. Listen, about those parts you wanted to look at. My boss is breathing down my neck to clear the inventory. If you want first pick, you need to come tomorrow. Ethan grinned. Desperation. That was good for business. I'll be there, but the price has to be right. Just come look. Ethan hung up. Who was that? Grace asked when he returned. Just a supplier. Boring business stuff. You have a supplier? You sound like a drug dealer. Hardware dealer. More addictive. Saturday morning. Ethan and Tank stood inside Apex Electronics. It was a chaotic warehouse filled with stacks of old monitors and towers. Mr. Gills, a sweating man in a short-sleeved dress shirt, led them to the back. Here it is. The graveyard. 25 computer towers sat in a pile. They were dirty, some missing side panels. These came from a failed office startup. Mr. Gill said. Pentium 2s. Good chips. Ethan opened one up. 1997 vintage. Good motherboards, decent RAM slots. But the hard drives were mostly dead or missing, and the power supplies were shot. They're junk, Ethan said flatly. They just need a little love. Mr. Gills pleaded. Mr. Gills, half the components are fried. I'm buying scrap metal here. Ethan kicked a tire metaphorically. I'll give you $2,000 for the lot. $2,000. I can't do that. $4,000. 2.5. Cash. Today. And you deliver them to my shop. Mr. Gills looked at the pile of junk that was taking up valuable space. Fine. 2.5. Ethan shook his hand. Back at the unit on 8th Street, Henry and Tank helped unload the haul. What are we going to do with these? Tank asked, coughing in the dust. We rebuild them, Ethan said. We combine the working parts, buy cheap replacements for the dead ones, install Windows 98, and sell them as starter PCs. How much profit? We bought them for $100 a pop. We put 50 in parts. We sell them for $400. Tank did the math. That's a lot of money. Get to work. Ethan spent the afternoon teaching Henry how to strip a chassis. In the middle of it, Henry slipped with a screwdriver, gashing his finger. Ow! Ethan dropped his soldering iron. Let me see. It was a deep cut. Ethan immediately grabbed the first aid kit. He cleaned it with alcohol. Henry winced, but didn't cry, and bandaged it tightly. Be careful, Ethan said, his voice stern but kind. We aren't in a rush. Your hands are your livelihood now. Henry looked at the bandage. Sorry, boss. Don't be sorry. Be safe. Chapter 39. By Sunday evening, Ethan had fully refurbished 3 machines. They hummed quietly on the workbench, the Windows 98 screensaver, 3D maze, flickering on the monitors. Beautiful, Ethan whispered. One of them was special. He had saved the best components for it. He'd even spray-painted the case a matte black instead of the ugly office beige. Who's that one for? Tank asked. Grace, Ethan said. Her birthday is next week. She's turning 18. Tank grinned. The big one. You gonna tell her how you feel? I'm gonna give her a computer. Let's start with that. His phone rang. It was Sal. Ethan, where have you been? I have customers waiting. I'm coming, Ethan said, rolling his eyes. He went to Sal's shop and fixed 4 machines in an hour, pocketing $300. Sal watched him like a hawk. You know, Ethan, I was thinking of hiring an assistant for you. Someone you could mentor. Ethan packed his bag. Don't bother, Sal. I work alone. But if he gets sick, I don't get sick. Ethan walked out. He knew his time with Sal was coming to an end. Once the shop on 8th Street was ready, he'd be his own boss. That night, back in Grace's room, the mood was light. Grace was lying on her stomach on the bed, flipping through a magazine. Ethan was at the desk. Ethan, she said. Yeah, why do woodpeckers peck wood? Ethan paused. Looking for bugs. Or making a hole. Why? To put their nuts in. Ethan tried not to laugh. Grace threw a pillow at him. You are disgusting. You ask. I hate you. I know. Grace sat up. Hey, seriously? Thanks for helping me with math this week. I think I might actually pass. You better. If you fail, I look bad. Grace smiled. It was a soft, genuine smile that made Ethan's chest ache. You're a good teacher, Ethan. I try. She picked up her glass of milk. To passing. She drank, leaving that milk mustache again. Ethan turned his chair. He looked at the milk. He looked at her lips. Grace. Yeah. Close your eyes. Why? You gonna steal my milk again? Just close them. She hesitated, then closed them, eyelashes fluttering against her cheeks. Ethan leaned in. He didn't drink the milk. He didn't kiss her. He reached out and gently wiped the milk away with his thumb. Grace's eyes flew open. You had a mustache, Ethan whispered. Grace turned scarlet. She swatted his hand away. You teased. But she didn't hit him with a pillow this time. Chapter 40. The week flew by in a blur of sawdust, solder fumes, and calculus equations. By Friday, the shop on 8th Street was unrecognizable. Henry had finished the electrical work. The walls were painted a crisp white. The refurbished computers were lined up on a display table Tank had built. It looked like a real business. We open on Monday, Ethan announced to his crew. Tank, you're on sales. Henry, you're on tech support. What about Hannah? Henry asked. Hannah is in charge of morale. Ethan smiled at the little girl, who was drawing with crayons in the corner. Ethan looked at the black computer tower he had built. He wiped a speck of dust from the casing. It was perfect. A Pentium 2 processor, 64 megs of RAM, a Voodoo graphics card. It was a beast of a machine for the year 2000. He unplugged it and began to pack it up. Tank, help me load this one into the station wagon later, Ethan said. Sure thing. You ready for tomorrow? Tank asked. Ethan nodded. Tomorrow is Saturday. Grace's 18th birthday. He ran his hand over the smooth metal of the computer case. 18 years old. Grace is 18, Ethan thought, a wave of nostalgia hitting him. We've been in each other's lives for 18 years. He pictured her face when she saw it. She'd probably scream. She might even tackle him again. Little green plum, he thought, using the nickname only he knew in his head. You're gonna love this gift, aren't you? My milk. Grace Miller looked at the carton of milk in her hand, pouted, and said, Nope, you didn't give me any of your juice. Forget it then. I was planning to get you a gift for your birthday tomorrow, but now, let me think about it. Ethan Ford sighed dramatically. A birthday gift? Ethan, what were you planning to give me? Grace narrowed her eyes, asking curiously. Well, Ethan pretended to hesitate. Here, have a sip. Just one sip. Grace held out her carton of milk. No milk, no info. Ethan took the milk and chuckled. If I drink this, it'll have my cooties. Aren't you afraid? Grace rolled her eyes at him. Afraid of what? Like you have a virus or something? Besides, it's not like we haven't done it before. As soon as she said it, she realized her words sounded a bit ambiguous. Her cheeks flushed red, and she turned her head away. She remembered when they were kids, neither family had much money. If one bought candy or snacks, they would always share. The number of times they had shared the same lollipop was countless. Drinking from the same bottle, eating from the same bag of chips, it was all too normal. So she didn't think it was a big deal. All right, down the hatch. Ethan tilted his head back and took a massive gulp, finishing half the carton in one go. Stop, stinky Ethan, give me back my milk. Grace quickly snatched the milk back, glaring at him. Oops, my bad, drank too much. But hey, you said one sip. I didn't take a second one. Ethan wiped his mouth, grinning smugly. Grace downed the rest of the milk to save it from Ethan's predatory gaze. After tossing the empty carton, she rubbed her small fist and huffed. Now, can you tell me? What is the birthday gift? Ethan looked serious. It's a computer. Grace paused, then scoffed. Ethan, please. I know how much cash you have. You think fixing computers makes enough to buy a whole computer. Who are you trying to fool? I don't believe you. In her mind, a computer was a luxury item. Average families couldn't afford one easily, let alone Ethan. A computer cost at least $1,000, maybe more. Stinky Ethan, teasing me again, Ethan. Why does no one believe the truth these days? Anyway, you'll see tomorrow. By the way, are you free this Sunday? Ethan drawled. I'm free this Sunday. What? Grace paused and asked back. Didn't you say you wanted to go shopping downtown? Tomorrow is your birthday, so I'm taking you. Ethan smiled. Oh, since when does Mr. Ford have free time? I see you coming home late from work every day. You have time to take me shopping. Grace asked in surprise. So, are you going or not? Going. Of course I'm going. Then it's a date. We head out right after breakfast tomorrow. I'm riding on your bike. Hey, you have your own bike. Why take mine? That mine is new. I'm afraid it'll get stolen. Huh? Oh, so if my bike gets stolen, you don't care, right? Pretty much. You're asking for a beating. Grace bared her teeth and claws, pouncing on Ethan. She tackled him onto the bed, pinning him down. Ethan, do you guys want to eat? The door suddenly opened. Lily Miller appeared in the doorway, freezing in place, dumbfounded. Grace and Ethan petrified on the spot. Grace was on top of Ethan in an extremely compromising position. Ahem, what are you two? I seem to have come at a bad time. Lily smiled awkwardly. Mom, don't misunderstand. We were playing. Just playing. Grace scrambled up, her face bright red as she explained frantically. Yes, Mrs. Miller, Ethan said with a straight face. Oh, I get it. You guys continue. I'll just go mind my own business. Lily gave a weird smile, closed the door, and backed out. Grace glared at the door. Mom, don't get the wrong idea. It's all your fault, stinky Ethan. Ethan spread his hands and laughed. My fault. In a living room outside, Lily excitedly ran to the sofa and sat down next to George Miller. Honey, do you think Grace and Ethan might be dating? She looked excited, as if she had discovered a new continent. Dating? Impossible. They grew up together. They're too close. It actually makes it less likely. George shook his head, not buying it. Being close is good. Childhood sweethearts, isn't that wonderful? Besides, I've watched Ethan grow up. That kid is hardworking, kind, and ambitious. He's a great catch. Anyway, I'd be happy to see it happen, Lily laughed. George smiled. Ethan is a good kid, but matters of the heart should be left to the kids. It depends on fate. I think being too familiar makes it impossible. You just don't understand, man. Lily paused, stunned. Is that so? But I see them getting along so well. Maybe if they keep hanging out, sparks will fly. George rolled his eyes at her. Nothing has even happened yet. And look how excited you are. You all worry less. That's their business. He pushed a plate of sliced watermelon toward her and smiled. Just eat your melon. I love the drama. Lily picked up a slice of watermelon, recalling the scene she just witnessed, and couldn't help but smile a motherly smile. The next morning at 7 a.m. sharp, Grace got up early to wash up. After washing up, she went back to her room to pick out clothes. Suddenly, she realized she didn't know where her blue dress was. She ran out and shouted toward the kitchen, "Mom, have you seen my blue dress?" Lily came out of the kitchen. "Didn't you put it away in your closet? Maybe it's in the bottom drawer." She suddenly noticed Grace seemed to be wearing makeup. "Daughter, are you going out today? Why the makeup?" Usually, her daughter didn't wear much makeup, only for special occasions or school dances. Grace's cheeks flushed, her eyes dodging. She replied perfunctorily, "No, nothing. I just want to go shopping downtown." "All right. Today is your 18th birthday. I'll order a cake later. Remember to come back for dinner. Daughter, starting today, you are officially an adult." Lily smiled. "Mom, I know. I'll be back this afternoon." Grace turned back to her room and, sure enough, found the blue dress in the bottom drawer. She happily changed into it. After changing, Grace checked herself out in the mirror on the wardrobe door, spinning around. The fluttering blue dress made her look even more bright and moving. Not bad." Grace touched her face, then put her hands on her hips, quite satisfied with her outfit. "Stinky Ethan should like this, right? Puffed, who cares what he likes? I'm wearing it for my own happiness." Grace shook her head, tossing the strange thoughts out of her mind. Finally, she went back to her desk to check if her makeup was smudged and touched it up. After getting everything ready, Grace grabbed her small shoulder bag and headed out. "Mom, I'm heading out. Aren't you eating breakfast?" I'm eating at Ethan's." Grace put on her shoes and dashed out the door. Lily came out of the kitchen, looking puzzled. Why is this child going to Ethan's house for breakfast? Grace arrived at Ethan's door and knocked. The door opened. Mary Ford saw Grace wearing a dress, looking quite ladylike, and was immediately surprised. "Oh, Grace, are you going on a date today? You look so beautiful." Grace blushed and grinned. "Not exactly. Mrs. Ford, is Ethan ready?" "He doesn't seem to be up yet, that lazy bug. Go drag him out for me." Mary laughed. "Okay," Grace responded. She went in and headed straight for Ethan's room. She pushed the door open directly, only to see Ethan leaning against the headboard, shirtless, having just woken up. "Holy crap. Grace, don't you knock? You scared the hell out of me." Ethan was startled and instinctively covered his chest with his hands. "What time is it? You're still not up." Grace put her hands on her hips and shouted, "Can you step out first? I need to change. I'll make it up top." Ethan rolled his eyes at her. Grace scoffed, "Just change. It's not like I haven't seen you shirtless before, but I'm naked on the bottom too." Okay." Grace's face turned red. She quickly backed out and closed the door. Stinky Ethan, that guy, why does he like sleeping in the buff? A while later, Ethan finally came out dressed, yawning. "Grace, why are you up so early?" "Whoa, wearing a dress. Did the sun rise from the west today?" "Let me see," Grace said haughtily. "What about it? Can't I wear a dress? I'm just usually too lazy to wear one." Ethan narrowed his eyes, staring at her. "So you wore it specifically to go shopping with me today?" "No, not at all. How big is your ego, Mr. Ford?" Grace stiffened her neck, stammering. Ethan looked her over. A blue dress, snowy white skin, cascading black hair, delicate makeup on her exquisite face. Her watery eyes were particularly lively. Her whole being radiated the breath of youth. The #1 beauty of Oak Creek High was indeed pretty. Just dressing up a little was enough to be breathtaking. Grace felt uncomfortable under Ethan's stare. She glared at him with a blushing face. "Aren't you going to wash up and eat breakfast?" "All right, wait for me." Ethan snapped out of it and ran into the bathroom. When he came out again, Grace was already sitting at the table eating oatmeal. His mother, Mary, was still busy in the kitchen. "Grace, besides downtown, where else do you want to go today?" Ethan sat down and asked. "The amusement park. I haven't been in ages. It's my birthday, gotta have some fun." Grace muttered while eating her oatmeal. "All right, I'll take you to the haunted house." Ethan rolled his eyes playfully and chuckled. "Haunted house? Boring. I've never been scared since I was a kid," Grace said disdainfully. "Ethan, right, I forgot. She's not a normal girl. Stinky Ethan, hurry up and finish so we can go. Please, the oatmeal is hot. You are so annoying. It takes you forever to eat a bowl of oatmeal." "Oh my God, whatever. You're being such a nag." "As if. What do you expect? Look at the time. Talk to the hand. Stop trying to sound like those girls on TV. It's totally cringe." As the two bantered using exaggerated accents from teen dramas, Mary came out of the kitchen, rolled her eyes at them, and laughed. "What are you two saying? Your accents are so weird. If you're done, go have fun. It's Grace's birthday today. Enjoy yourselves." Saying that, Mary took out her wallet, preparing to give Ethan some pocket money. Mom, no need. I make quite a bit fixing computers. I have money. You keep yours. Ethan quickly raised his hand to refuse. Really? Mary asked in surprise. Really? Just don't worry about it. Ethan smiled, then finished the bowl of pumpkin oatmeal in 2 or 3 bites. Mom, we're heading out. Back this afternoon. Ethan got up and ran to change his shoes. Grace put on a well-behaved look and stood up. Bye, Mrs. Ford, we're going now. The two went out the door together. Listening to their bickering voices outside, a fond smile appeared on Mary's face. These two kids, sticking together all day and never getting annoyed with each other. It's nice. Downstairs, Grace wheeled her bike out. We can take my bike, but you have to carry me. Grace declared. Why? I'm wearing a dress today. Excuse. You've ridden a bike in a dress before. Fine. It's an excuse. Then you ride your own bike. Ethan quickly grabbed her. Okay, I'll carry you. That's more like it. Grace lifted her chin proudly. Stinky Ethan, little punk, think I can't handle you. Be a good chauffeur today. Ha ha ha. Ethan got on a bike and looked back. Princess Grace, please board the carriage. Peasant. Grace smoothed her dress along her rounded hips with both hands and sat on the rear rack, sitting sideways, looking very ladylike. Ride on, peasant. Her Highness is seated, Grace giggled. Yes, ma'am. Giddy up. Ethan pedaled the bicycle hard. Your Highness, why is this bike so hard to pedal? Is it out of grease? Is there a possibility, just a possibility, that you've gained weight? Grace, get lost. It was another sunny day. Because it was the weekend, there were quite a few pedestrians on the road. Grace looked up at the green trees receding along the road. The sunlight filtered through the gaps in the leaves, golden and bright. Occasionally, the sun hit her, making her feel warm all over. So comfortable. Grace reached out a hand, a sweet smile on her lips, wanting to try and grasp the sunlight. Her right arm gently wrapped around Ethan's waist. She turned to look at Ethan's back, the curve of her smile deepening. Going shopping with Stinky Ethan puts me in such a good mood. Peasant, let's go get ice cream later. I remember there's a really good ice cream place downtown. Not going to Mickey D's at the Metro Mall? Ethan asked. That was the first McDonald's in this part of town. Many people went there for birthdays to buy ice cream or eat a fried chicken burger meal. Too many people there. I don't want to wait in line. That shop on the pedestrian street is nice too. Grace pouted. The two arrived at the commercial street downtown and found a shop called Sweet Ice Cream. There were a dozen people in line on the weekend, which was much better than the hundreds queuing at McDonald's. Ethan had just bought the ice cream and came out when he suddenly saw 2 young thugs surrounding Grace. The lecherous looks on their faces made it obvious what they were doing. They were definitely taking the opportunity to hit on and harass Grace. Ethan's face darkened, and he walked over quickly. Little sister, come hang out with us. Don't be so cold. Big brother will take you somewhere fun. A young man with long, sweeping bangs shook his leg, staring lecherously at Grace. Grace frowned slightly and said coldly, Before I lose my temper, you'd better get lost. Ooh, feisty temper. Spicy, I like it. Hith. The bangs guy laughed pervertedly, reaching out to touch Grace's shoulder. A cold light flashed in Grace's eyes. A swift kick to the groin. Bang! Ow! Followed by a judo shoulder throw. Wham! The bangs guy was slammed viciously onto the ground, letting out a miserable howl in agonizing pain. All this happened in an instant. Grace's moves were extremely clean, leaving the passers-by dumbfounded. What a tough girl. Seeing his companion beaten, the remaining thug cursed angrily and moved to grab Grace. Suddenly, an ice cream cone appeared in front of his eyes, smashing directly into his face. Hiya! Ethan mimicked a martial arts move, raising his leg to kick the guy flying, but a sharp ache shot through his ankle. Crap! Think I sprained my ankle. Forget it. Endure it and get out of here first to avoid trouble. Taking advantage of the fact that the thug with the face full of ice cream hadn't reacted yet, Ethan grabbed Grace's small hand and ran. Hit and run, what a rush. The two sprinted for a full 300 or 400 meters, ducking into a side alley before stopping. Phew, looks like they didn't follow. Ethan gasped for air, sticking his head out to look. Seeing no pursuers, he breathed a sigh of relief. That was fun. Grace, on the contrary, looked excited, feeling like she hadn't had enough of the fight. Ethan, he was actually startled by Grace's skill just now. Truly a woman with a judo black belt. That move was clean and crisp. Miss, didn't expect such bad luck today. Trouble the moment we step out. Ethan shook his head with a bitter smile. Those two creeps started it. I can't just let them bully me, right? I didn't even use my ultimate move yet. Grace raised her small fist and waved it. Then she added arrogantly, Can't help it. Who asked me to be born so beautiful? It's a burden. Ethan rolled his eyes at her repeatedly. Grace, when did you become so narcissistic? You're not even a tenth as beautiful as me, okay? Grace. All right, not arguing with you. Where's my ice cream? Ethan held the remaining ice cream cone, guarding it against his chest. This is mine. You just smashed yours into that guy's face. Grace narrowed her eyes, revealing two small canine teeth, threatening. Give it or not. Ethan, don't do something you'll regret forever. Seeing this, Ethan grinned. Don't be like that. How about we share? It's a matcha swirl, 2 flavors. I'll eat the matcha. You eat the vanilla. I'm fine, that works. But no crossing the line, and no stealing mine. Grace warned him. Relax, I won't. So the two happily reached an ice cream agreement. 1 bite for you, 1 for me, no snatching. They ate and strolled. Many passers-by looked at them sharing the same ice cream with somewhat strange expressions. But Grace didn't feel it all, stepping lightly. Her gaze scanned the shops on both sides of the road. In her view, this was a very normal thing. Growing up, she had often shared food and drink with Ethan. Splitting things was a habit. Ethan walked beside her, turning his head to look at Grace, who was occasionally humming a light tune. A smile curled his lips. Suddenly, he felt her beautiful black hair was missing something. Grace, let's go check out that trinket stall ahead. Grace glanced over. Seeing the sparkling accessories and the many styles, she was tempted but hesitated. Let's not. The trinkets downtown are a bit pricey. Let's look when we get back. Ethan pulled her back, stepped in front of her, and smiled. It's your birthday today. Let's be big spenders. I'm buying. Grace looked into Ethan's sincere eyes. The two looked at each other face to face. Okay, let's take a look then. Grace grinned. Be willful for the birthday. If Ethan buys it, I'll just give him a return gift next time. The two arrived at the stall. It sold bracelets, necklaces, earrings, headbands, hair clips, and similar small items. Take a look, you two. All the latest styles. Okay, I'll look first. Grace scanned the trinkets on the stall, dazzled by the array of accessories. Ethan saw she was having trouble choosing, so he picked out a crystal butterfly hair clip for her. This one is pretty. Try it on. Ethan handed the crystal butterfly clip to her. The middle-aged man quickly praised. Miss, your boyfriend has a sharp eye. I just got this clip in the day before yesterday. Latest design. Boyfriend? Sir, you misunderstood. He's not my boyfriend. Grace paused, defending herself in a low voice with a red face. What is wrong with these shop owners' eyes? They need to go to the hospital. The middle-aged man chuckled, a look of realization on his face, then said, Haha, is that so? My apologies. I saw how compatible you two looked and assumed you were a couple. We aren't. An awkward look appeared on Grace's face. She pouted and took the hair clip from Ethan. She put the clip on. A touch of crystal brightness was added to her beautiful black hair. How is it? Does it look good? Grace spun around, feeling even more radiant. Not bad, not bad. Looks like my taste is decent. Ethan laughed, praising himself. Then let's get this one. Boss, how much is this clip? Grace took the clip off and asked. $5. The middle-aged man rubbed his hands and smiled. What? $5 for this? Sir, this kind of accessory only sells for $3 back in my neighborhood. Grace asked in surprise, feeling it was a bit expensive. $2 could buy a whole breakfast burrito. But she liked the clip. She wanted to buy it, but felt it was too pricey. Ethan smiled and said, Hey, boss, wrap it up. Then he said to Grace, It's your birthday today. I'm buying it for you. $5 isn't expensive. All right, then thank you, Mr. Ford. Grace smiled. Grace left the stall to look around outside. Young man, not bad, keep it up. I'm rooting for you. The middle-aged man bagged the item, handed it to Ethan, gave a thumbs up, and whispered, Have a good business, boss. Ethan chuckled lightly and turned to find Grace. Grace blinked her big eyes and asked curiously, What were you guys whispering about? Nothing. Ethan, where are we going to play next? Grace, I'm taking you somewhere. I prepared a special birthday gift for you. What is it? So mysterious. Haha, you'll know when we get there. Ethan led Grace to the front of his shop. What is this place? Grace looked up suspiciously at the storefront of the converted residential building. My base of operations. Come on in. Ethan smiled, opening the door. Boss. Henry Payne saw Ethan, put down his hammer, and stood up to welcome him. Henry, you're not resting on the weekend? Ethan saw Henry's clothes covered in dust and his eyes slightly bloodshot, looking a bit exhausted. I'm not tired. No need to rest. I want to finish the tasks you assigned as soon as possible, Henry said with a raspy voice. You need work-life balance. If you keep going like this, your body will collapse before the work is done. No work today. Your only task for today is to rest well. If I catch you working, I'll dock your pay, Ethan said sternly. Henry felt a warmth in his heart and let out a breath. All right, boss, I understand. He suddenly noticed the stunning girl standing behind Ethan. Fresh temperament, oval face, exquisite features, prettier than the stars on TV. He couldn't help but be amazed. Is this the boss's girlfriend? She's really beautiful. The boss is truly a lucky man. Henry, let me introduce you. Grace Miller, the tigress from next door. Ow, Grace, you pinched me again. Ethan grimaced in pain, rubbing the tender flesh at his waist. Grace glared at him and said haughtily, "Didn't you say I was a tigress? Consider yourself lucky I didn't eat you." Who is he? Henry Payne, my first employee, my right-hand man. Ethan patted Henry on the shoulder and praised. Henry scratched his head, embarrassed by the praise. "Hello, boss lady." Grace's eyes widened, her expression utterly speechless. "Hey, you've got the wrong person." Henry looked blankly at Ethan, his eyes full of surprise. The look was asking Ethan, "Did I get wrong?" Ethan chuckled and pulled a $10 bill out of his pocket, handing it to Henry. "Henry, go buy some snacks. No work today, get some good rest. By the way, where's Hannah?" Ethan turned his head and noticed Hannah wasn't there. She went next door to play. She'll come back on her own for dinner. Henry shook his head and smiled. It's normal for kids to love playing, but at her age, she should be in school. Once the shop is on track, let's find a school for her. Ethan mused. Really? Thank you, boss. Henry shouted excitedly, his eyes full of gratitude. Yeah, of course. Go get some food first. Ethan smiled. You got it, I'm going. Henry put down his mask and sprinted out. Grace looked around the shop and asked in surprise, Ethan, how much are you renting this place for? You're actually hiring people and renovating? Oh my God, so many computers. Ethan, where did you get these? How much have you made? Grace looked at the mountain of computers piled behind the workbench, her face full of shock. Is this the same Ethan who used to split a lollipop over 2 days? Just the rent, and these computers must cost a fortune. Not to mention hiring someone? Incredible. Just made a little fixing computers. Not much. Ethan smiled calmly, a hint of pride in his tone. Reliving a life. If he couldn't even make his first pot of gold, he'd be wasting his reputation as a dark horse entrepreneur from his past life. Wow, so many computers? Do they all work? Grace excitedly ran to the pile of computers, touching and looking. She had always wanted a computer, to surf the web, to talk and chat with people from all over the country, even the world. How cool is that? She had been longing for one for years, but she also understood her family's financial situation wasn't great. A computer was a luxury for her family. So whenever she heard well-off classmates talking about computers, instant messenger, and games, she was very envious. But she could only envy secretly. Seeing so many computers piled here, even though they looked old, her eyes lit up with excitement she couldn't suppress. Old computers were still computers. A second-hand computer cost at least $400 or $500. That was still quite expensive. Only fixed 2 so far. The others aren't ready yet. Ethan smiled. He walked over and patted the computer on the workbench. This computer is your birthday present. Grace froze for a full 3 seconds. What? A birthday present for me? Ethan, are you serious? Really? Grace grabbed Ethan's arm excitedly, disbelief written all over her face, confirming repeatedly. Ethan rolled his eyes at her. Of course it's true. When have I ever lied to you? Growing up, have you ever stopped tricking me? Ahem, let's not dwell on the past. Let bygones be bygones. Anyway, I'm not tricking you this time. Really? But I do have one condition. Grace quickly crossed her arms over her chest, wary. Ethan, let me state this up front. I'm not selling myself. Not even for 2 computers. Ethan's mouth twitched. Grace, what kind of person do you take me for? Do I look like a pervert? Grace looked him up and down and said seriously, looking at it this way, pretty much all over. Ethan, Grace burst out laughing, trembling with mirth. Don't make that face. Just teasing you. Say it, what's the condition? As long as it's not too excessive. Agreeing isn't a problem. Ethan really wanted to say be my girlfriend, but felt it was unrealistic and might scare her off. Haven't thought of it yet. I'll tell you when I do. Ethan narrowed his eyes, saving a card for later. Fine. Tell me when you figured out. Let's figure out how to take the computer back. Maybe go get the internet set up. What do you think? Grace touched the computer, unable to wait. I'll find a guy with a truck to haul it back later. Ethan said. Then you carry it. Grace, do you take me for a pack mule? You can't do it? Emmett, it's not that I can't. I'll work like a dog for you. Why does your tone sound so weird? Does it? No, right? Grace sat in front of the computer and asked excitedly, Ethan, how do you play on the computer? I'll teach you the operations. This is the mouse. This is the keyboard. Ethan extended his hands from behind her, encircling her in his arms. He placed one hand over hers on the mouse, teaching her the basics. Grace felt Ethan's breath by her ear. Her little heart thumped for no reason, and her cheeks burned. Left click to select, right click to open options, double click left to open software, Ethan instructed earnestly. But Grace felt his hand was hot, and it seemed to carry electricity. She didn't hear much of what Ethan said. Got it. Ethan looked down and asked. Got it. Turns out it's so simple. Grace laughed awkwardly, blushing. Next, I'll teach you typing. You know phonics, right? Use this shortcut to bring up the input method, then just type. It might be slow at first, but you'll get used to it. Ethan explained carefully. A while later, Henry returned with snacks. Boss, food's here. Grace's eyes flickered. I'm gonna grab some snacks. She slipped out from under Ethan's arm like a streak of smoke and ran to get snacks. What a glutton. Ethan shook his head and smiled, following her. Henry had used the $10 to buy as many varieties of snacks as possible. Grace ate cookies, but seeing Ethan pull out a Slim Jim, she wanted one too. But he only bought one. No more Slim Jims? Just one. Grace deflated. Just bite lightly, careful not to chip your teeth. I won't. I'm not a kid. I'm an 18-year-old adult, okay. Hey, I'm fan over that stick. What, not convinced? Want to talk back? Fine, here. Ethan conceded, handing the Slim Jim to her. Grace, afraid Ethan would snatch it back, immediately stuffed the sausage into her mouth. Now it's on my saliva. You can't eat it. She laughed triumphantly, then happily enjoyed it. Ethan looked at her with a weird expression. Didn't expect her to have such talent. After the 3 ate snacks, Grace wanted to learn computer repair and begged Ethan to teach her. Ethan opened up a computer tower and told her the function and role of each component and common damage issues. Grace learned seriously and carefully, and her comprehension was strong. But once she realized computer parts were essentially integrated circuits, she grasped the functions of capacitors, circuits, and pins. The two stayed in the shop until 3 p.m. Grace saw it was getting late. She had to go home. You go back first. I still have some things to do. I'll help bring the computer back later. Ethan smiled. You're not going back with me? What else do you have to do? Grace asked curiously. I still have to fix computers to make money. Otherwise, where will the startup capital come from? All right. Not bad, Ethan. Very ambitious. What do you want to do with the money? Marry you. Get lost. Who are you kidding? You've said that dozens of times since we were kids. All right, I'm heading back. Hurry up and finish so you can come back for cake, or there won't be any left for you. I'll eat it all myself. Grace threatened with a fiercely cute expression. Ethan shook his head and gave a bitter smile. Okay, you go back first. Why is it so hard to tell the truth these days? But then again, maybe it's because they're too close. The more serious you are, the more it sounds like a joke. Bye-bye, mister. Bye-bye, Princess Grace. Ethan watched Grace skipping away, looking like she was in a great mood. It was her 18th birthday, after all, and she got a birthday gift she loved. She'd probably be happy all night. Ethan smiled and was about to lift his foot to go back in when a sharp pain shot through his right ankle. He squatted down, taking off his right shoe and sock to see his ankle bruised and swollen. Crap, just my luck. Really sprained it. Ethan spat on his hand and rubbed some saliva on the swelling. It was an old wives' tale method. Didn't know if it worked, but at least it was a psychological comfort. Grace's family seemed to have some medicinal liniment. He'd rub some on when he got back. At first, it was just a dull ache, but now it looked pretty serious. Putting his sock and shoe back on, Ethan took out his phone to check the time. He couldn't go back yet. He still had to go to Sal Higgins's place to fix computers. The ankle was sprained, but it didn't stop his hands from making money. Just have to endure it. Ethan composed himself, then went back in the shop to give Henry Payne instructions on the follow-up work, handing him a list of wires and sockets to buy. At this pace, all the wire channels might be cut in 2 or 3 days. Next would be wiring, installing sockets, LED strips, and repainting the walls. Electrical installation required some skill. Henry didn't know how, so Ethan had to do it himself. Fortunately, the place wasn't big, so installation wouldn't be troublesome. Henry could help mix mortar and paint. He believed that within a month, the soft furnishing for the shop could be done according to the design. Once renovated, it would definitely stun everyone. After all, it was designed with the vibe of an Apple store, highlighting minimalism, technology, and fashion. After giving instructions, Ethan went out to catch a bus to Sal Higgins's shop. After a sardine can ride, Ethan walked to Sal's shop. Just as he arrived at the door, he heard Sal's laughter coming from inside. What's making him so happy? Ethan walked into the store and saw Sal chatting with a young man wearing glasses and a plaid shirt, looking scholarly. They seemed very familiar. Hey, Ethan is here. Come, let me introduce you. Sal Higgins stood up enthusiastically to welcome him, his face piled with smiles. But in Ethan's eyes, this smile was a bit fake. Hey Sal, looking a good mood today. Wife pregnant again? Ethan teased. Ethan, you sure know how to joke. We gotta follow the plan, quality over quantity. Hey, that's not what this is about. Sal realized he was led astray and quickly laughed. Come, let me introduce you. Gary Holt. Gary, my brother-in-law's classmate. A top student from the University of Illinois, just graduated and came back recently. Hello, Ethan. Gary Holt adjusted his glasses frame and gave a smile that didn't reach his eyes, looking a bit awkward. A college grad having to call this kid by his name like an equal. Could it be any more awkward? Hello. U of I grads are excellent talents in society, Ethan complimented casually. A look of arrogance appeared on Gary's face, and he smiled faintly. Ethan then looked at Sal. Sal, you hired such a talent too. Sal chuckled. Hey, didn't I tell you last time I needed to get you an assistant to share the pressure? Gary's great. He also studied computer science. Although he hasn't fixed computers before, he has a solid foundation in this area. He'll help you out from now on, so you won't have to work so hard. After speaking, he stared tightly at Ethan, wanting to see his reaction. Gary was the candidate he had painstakingly found to replace Ethan. As long as Gary learned enough from Ethan to work independently, he could kick Ethan out. Ethan's face was calm, seemingly unsurprised. Oh, Sal really thinks of me. Since you've decided, Sal, I have no objections. Sal was stunned. He didn't expect Ethan to have no reaction at all, and to accept his arrangement happily. Truly unexpected. Then I'll trouble Ethan to guide Gary well. Sal cupped his hands at him, then turned to instruct Gary. Gary, although you're from U of I, you're not familiar with computer repair yet. Ask Ethan for advice often. There was some displeasure in Gary's eyes, but he forced a smile. Yes, boss. I will learn well from Ethan. Asking someone several years younger for advice felt incredibly awkward. But for the job, there was no choice. Learn if he must. Ethan glanced at the two, sneering inwardly. Fatty Sal thought this little scheme could fool him. Nothing more than seeing he wasn't cooperative and wanting to arrange someone to replace him. Once this guy learned the ropes, he would naturally be out. But it didn't matter. He was going to pull out of here in a month, or so anyway. Ethan didn't react much just to stabilize Sal. Before his own shop started running, he still needed the income from Sal. If it were someone with a hotter temper, they would have fallen out with Fatty Sal already. But falling out now meant cutting off this income source, and finding other avenues would be trouble. Ethan wasn't an impulsive person. Everything depended on benefits. Do whatever is profitable. Of course, the premise of pursuing benefits was also adhering to principles of conduct. If you don't have to tear up a relationship, peace is precious. After all, making enemies is easy, but resolving grievances is hard. In business, make fewer enemies and more friends. More friends mean wider paths. Sal, how many computers to fix today? Ethan chuckled lightly, walking into the workstation on his own. There are 5 today. Some customers came specifically for you. Fast and good repairs. Ethan, your reputation is ringing. Sal complimented. Sal flatters me. Customers are actually smart. It's called competitive advantage. Mainly, our fees are cheaper than the tech towers. Ethan waved his hand modest. Ethan looked for tools at the workstation. He remembered placing his tools in different spots on the table, but they seemed to have been put away. Gary followed him in and smiled. Ethan, I stored all your tools in the drawers one by one. Don't worry, I organized them by category. Ethan glanced at him and said calmly, don't do that next time. I have my own operating habits. If you put the tools away, it's trouble for me to find them again. Before starting work, you have to understand that efficiency comes first. Don't waste time looking for tools. Gary was scolded for a couple of sentences. His expression changed, looking a bit ugly, but soon he could only laugh dryly. Yes, Ethan. I understand for next time. Ethan smiled and said no more. Sometimes you have to take the initiative in conversation. Don't be timid just because the other party is older. Ethan knew the guy was just an apprentice now. He had to give him some pressure so he wouldn't look down on him. Help me carry the tower over. Ethan began directing him to work. Fatty Sal wanted him to help and learn something. Ethan didn't care. This craft, if not explained hand in hand, wasn't easy to learn just by watching from the side. Okay. Gary turned to carry the tower over, but his face looked a bit unpleasant, trying his best not to show it too obviously. Ethan couldn't be bothered to look at his face, disassembling and repairing on his own. Gary watched quite seriously from the side, but to start, he didn't dare ask random questions, afraid of making Ethan unhappy. He had to ask Ethan if he wanted to learn. If he upset Ethan, he really wouldn't learn anything. Being an apprentice assistant was like that. Even if he didn't like Ethan, he had to be polite on the surface. Sal sat on the other side of the shop, watching all this, a smug smile on his lips. He speculated secretly that Gary graduated from a famous university and majored in computer science, so he should learn fast, right? As long as Gary could learn half the skill, not to mention be amazing, he could completely replace Ethan's position. Then he would raise Gary's salary a bit and have him teach others. Then his computer repair business would take off. Ha! Kid, refuse to partner with me? I won't play with you anymore. Time flew by, reaching 6 p.m. Ethan repaired the 5 computers on time. After testing them one by one, he delivered them to the customers. The 5 customers saw the computers were fixed and paid the repair fees readily. Deducting Sal's cut, Ethan earned $400 that day. Ethan counted the money and stuffed it into his pocket with satisfaction. Sal, work's done today. I'm heading out. Ethan greeted Sal. Leaving already? How about grabbing a bite together later? Sal stayed polite. Ethan declined. No, a friend's birthday today. Gotta get back. Next time, definitely next time. All right then, I won't keep you. Safe trip. Sal walked Ethan out of the shop. Seeing Ethan walk far away, he huffed and turned back into the shop. Gary, how was it? Watching from the side today, did you learn anything? Sal asked Gary with a smile. Gary froze. He actually hadn't learned much this afternoon. Just watching without asking, he roughly knew what was being fixed, but still didn't understand how to fix it. But he didn't want to seem stupid in front of Sal. After all, he was a grad from a famous university. If he said he didn't understand, this high-paying job might be in trouble. So he gave a dry laugh and braced himself to say, not bad. Doesn't feel too hard. Learn some stuff. Hearing this, Sal was delighted. He patted his shoulder and encouraged, good, very good. Work hard. When you master it, I won't treat you poorly. Ethan returned home at 7 p.m., bumping into the delivery guy hauling the computers downstairs. Thanks for the hard work, sir. Ethan smiled, settling the shipping fee on the spot. Yeah, thanks for the business. Need help moving them up? The middle-aged man asked honestly, seeing that 2 computers would be hard for one person. Ethan felt the pain in his ankle and sighed helplessly. That would be great. Here's $20 for your trouble. Ethan pulled another bill from his wallet as a tip for the help. The man was pleasantly surprised and thanked him repeatedly. The 2 moved the computers upstairs. Ethan opened his door and found his parents weren't home. It looked like they were across the hall celebrating Grace's birthday. Their birthdays were always celebrated with both families eating together. It was livelier that way. After putting the computers in his room, Ethan washed his face to look less tired, though carrying the computers up had made his ankle hurt even more. After drinking some water, Ethan went across the hall and knocked. Grace opened the door. Ethan, perfect timing. Just in time for dinner. Grace laughed. I'm starving. I'm gonna eat 2 bowls of rice tonight. Ethan grinned. Walking inside, his mother Mary and Lily were cooking in the kitchen. In the living room, George and Frank were chatting, laughing about something. Son, you're back. Come here for a sec. Frank Ford waved him over. Dad, what's up? Ethan walked over, asking curiously. Heard from Grace that your recent test scores were good? Top 10 in the class. Frank asked in surprise. Yeah, performed okay. Just need to reinforce physics, chemistry, and English. Ethan grinned. Frank continued asking, confident about getting into a state university? If you get into a state school, you can attend a decent program. Grace's grades have always been good. I figure if you work hard and score well, you 2 could go to the same university. Look out for each other. Since you've been in the same class from elementary to high school, going to the same college would make us rest easy. Ethan's mouth twitched. How little confidence did his dad have in him? State school? That was nothing, but then again, his grades used to be average. Now, however, he was confident he could score far above the requirement for a top-tier university. I'm confident about a state school. Not hard. I told Grace, too. We can apply for the same schools, somewhere in Chicago. First choice naturally being University of Chicago or UUC, close to home. Ethan replied. Frank nodded with satisfaction. Good to have that ambition. Go for it. George smiled. Frank, I see Ethan is very confident. Trust him, he'll definitely make it. Oh, George, he only did well on this test. Before, he didn't have these grades. Still a bit worrying. Frank shook his head. George looked at Ethan and laughed. Ethan, then get a good score to show your dad. Haha, will do, Uncle George. Ethan nodded. As they chatted, Lily and Mary brought out the last 2 dishes. Come, everyone sit down and eat, Lily called out. The table was packed with 6 dishes and a soup, extremely lavish, just like a holiday dinner. George opened a bottle of good wine specifically to treat Frank. The 2 were old drinking buddies, visiting each other every few days for a couple of drinks. George had quite a few bottles gifted by others, and Frank got to share the fortune. The meal was lively. The 2 families had known each other for over 20 years. They were closer than relatives, practically family. After dinner, Lily cleared the dishes and brought out the cake. Da-da-da. Time for cake. Come, daughter, light the candle and make a wish, Lily smiled. Grace nodded happily, placed a single candle on the cake, and lit it. Grace, what birthday wish are you making? This is your 18th. You're an adult now, Ethan asked curiously. None of your business. I'm not telling you, Grace said haughtily, clasping her hands to wish. Hope mom and dad stay healthy. Hope Ethan does well on the SATs and his business improves. Since he gave me a computer, I'll spare a wish for him. Grace thought to herself. Grace, did you make a wish about me? Ethan suddenly leaned in front of her, whispering with a smile. Grace's cheeks reddened. I did not. Don't flatter yourself. With that, she blew out the candle. Hey, we haven't sung happy birthday yet, Ethan exclaimed. Ethan, with your tone-deaf voice? I've heard it for over 10 years. Let's skip it, okay? Grace rolled her eyes at him. Ethan smiled helplessly. He didn't have singing talent before, but later in college, he took music electives and even signed up for training classes after graduation. He definitely had no issues now. Oh well, looks like Grace won't get to hear my angelic voice. Grace cut the cake, serving the elders first, then giving Ethan a big piece, while eating only a little herself. Why are you eating so little? Ethan asked. Too much cream. I'm afraid of getting fat. You eat more, Grace said casually. With your figure, you don't need to lose weight, do you? Ethan shook his head and smiled. Grace was shorter than him by half a head, but she was still 5 feet 7 inches tall for a girl. Mainly, she wasn't just tall, but very well proportioned. As the saying goes, 1 inch more is fat, 1 inch less is thin. She was just right. Her figure made all the girls at school envious to death. I like to. None of your business. Come on, let's go eat in my room. Grace saw George and Frank about to puff away in the house. Her sense of smell was sensitive, and she didn't want to smell the smoke. The two went into the room and sat at the desk eating cake. Ethan, do we get the computers back? Grace had been thinking about her birthday gift. Brought them back. They're in my room. I'll install yours tomorrow after school. You don't know, the delivery guy and I hauled him up 2 flights. Nearly killed me. Ethan shook his head and laughed. Grace felt a bit touched and was about to speak. Ethan continued with a cheeky grin. Give me a kiss as a reward. Grace blushed and glared at him. Get lost, taking the opportunity to ask for credit. At most, I'll treat you to breakfast tomorrow. Breakfast burrito with extra sausage. Ethan chuckled, then suddenly shifted his foot. A sharp pain shot through his ankle, making him wince and suck in a cold breath. Seeing his expression, Grace asked suspiciously, What's wrong with your foot? Think I sprained it. Kicked that guy today and twisted it myself. Ethan grimaced in pain, taking off his shoe and sock to check the injury. Looking at it, it was bad. Swollen huge, like a bun. Oh my God, Ethan, you sprained it this badly? Why didn't you tell me earlier? Grace frowned at the injury. It didn't hurt that much before. Got worse later. Just now, carrying the computers up made it hurt more, Ethan said helplessly. Grace froze. She didn't expect him to carry the computer up for her with an injured foot. She instantly felt guilty. What a dummy. Sit here and wait. I'll get the liniment. My dad's liniment works really well. Grace's eyes flashed with distress as she quickly stood up. All right then. Really need to rub some on. Ethan nodded. Grace left and returned a moment later with a small bottle of medicinal liquor. Opening the bottle, a pungent herbal smell wafted out. Give it to me. I'll rub it myself. Ethan reached out to take it. Can you do it properly yourself? I'll do it. I asked my mom to get a hot towel. After rubbing the liniment, we'll apply a hot compress. It'll heal fast. Put your foot on the chair, straighten it. Grace sat next to Ethan, poured some liniment on her hand, and then carefully rubbed Ethan's swollen ankle. Ethan was stunned. In the past, when he got hurt falling or fighting, Grace would never apply medicine for him. She'd say, be a man, do it yourself. Didn't expect her to do it herself today. Looking at Grace applying the medicine earnestly, Ethan felt warm inside. Suddenly, a sharp pain hit. Ow, ow, ow. Ethan cried out in pain. Grace, what are you doing? Grace looked up and rolled her eyes at him. I'm rubbing the medicine in hard. If I don't use force, how will it penetrate? If you want to get better faster, endure it for me. Big man, you can handle a little pain. Ethan, easy for you to say. When I applied medicine for you before, didn't you howl like a ghost? Grace looked up and glared at him again, asking back, Did I? Did I scream? That's slander. Of course you did. I still remember that time in 8th grade when you rolled down the stairs. Haha. Ethan recalled the scene. Grace tumbling down the stairs, falling flat on her face. That posture was hilarious. That posture was hilarious. Something to remember for a lifetime. Grace's cheeks flushed, her eyes showing some annoyance. She huffed and continued to apply force with her hands. Ethan's face changed dramatically. Ow! A miserable howl echoed through the building. In the living room outside, George, Frank, Lily, and Mary all looked toward the room in surprise. Lily was stunned. What are those two kids doing in there? Lily looked puzzled and stood up to knock on the door. Grace, what are you two doing in there? The door opened, and Grace grinned. Nothing, just putting medicine on Ethan's ankle. This guy can't handle a little pain. Oh, I see. The towel is hot. Go get it and give Ethan a hot compress. Be gentle, you know? Don't hurt Ethan, Lily instructed. Grace, okay, Mom, I know. Grace had 3 black lines on her forehead. Why did Mom always side with stinky Ethan? She ran to the kitchen, fished out the steaming towel from the hot water, wrapped it in a dry cloth, and took it to apply to Ethan. Ethan didn't want her to do the compress. It was torture. She didn't know how hot the towel was. Nearly scalded his skin off. Ethan had to gently press the towel himself. I have to say, after the liniment and the hot compress, it felt much better. Not as painful. Ethan leaned back against the headboard, watching Grace sitting at the desk trimming her nails. She had her legs crossed, her skirt riding up a bit, revealing a pair of smooth, white long legs. Elasticity. Should be pretty good, right? Haha. Grace, can you clip my toenails later? Why should I help you? Just because your ego is big. Everything about me is big, except my ego. My hands are busy with the compress. It's inconvenient. Grace looked up at him. Seeing his ankle swollen like that, her heart softened. Fine. Since you gave me my favorite birthday present today and sprained your ankle, I'll clip them for you. Ethan secretly rejoiced. Grace really had a sharp tongue, but a soft heart. Thanks. Start with the left foot. The left one doesn't hurt. Ethan pulled her pillow over, placed it behind his back, and lay down comfortably, waiting for her service. Grace rolled her eyes at him speechlessly. Stinky Ethan. She sat by the bed and started clipping Ethan's toenails with the clippers. Ethan, you need to scrub off the dead skin when you shower. It's so thick, Grace said with a look of disgust. Skin is a protective layer. Why remove it? Having skin implies security. Ethan gave a cheeky laugh. Grace paused. Why's your tone so weird? Weird where? It's very normal. Can't be bothered with you. Go back and rest after I'm done. Sprained ankle means early bedtime. Chasing me away so soon. It's 10 p.m. If you don't go back, do you plan to sleep here? Haha, that's not impossible. Stinky Ethan, do you want to ball you up and throw you out? Don't be so impulsive. At least I'm half your master, okay? Taught you to fix computers, even taught you to cook noodles. Grace pouted and huffed. The noodles you cook aren't very good either. Then why did you eat so much? Ethan retorted. That's because I was hungry. Grace insisted stubbornly. You have the nerve to talk about me? You can't cook noodles. Didn't even stir them. They were all stuck together. Ethan chuckled lightly. Grace pinched his thigh with her hand. Ow! Grace Miller, why are you pinching me? Grace lifted her chin, acting haughty. For talking about me. No mentioning the noodle incident again. Ethan grimaced. Fine. Won't mention your embarrassing moments. Stop pinching me then. Grace revealed a pair of white canine teeth. Say one more word, and I'll clip your toe off. Ethan grinned, but obediently shut up. His toe was in her hands right now. A moment later, Grace quickly finished clipping Ethan's toenails. All right, Ethan, hurry up and scram. Go back to sleep. Grace put away the clippers and clapped her hands. So fast, Ethan was a bit reluctant. The feeling of his toes being held by Grace's soft hand was really nice. Too bad good times are always short. What do you want then? You're so annoying. Grace switched to a playful accent. Fine. The king shall return. Can little Grace support me? Ethan looked at her with pitiful eyes. Okay. So much trouble. Grace pulled him up from the bed. Ethan stood up unsteadily and suddenly fell onto her, hugging her tightly. With warm, soft jade in his arms, he felt like he was ascending to heaven. A unique fragrance wafted into his nose, refreshing the heart. Grace smells so good. Stand steady. I can't hold you up. Grace's face turned red. She puffed out her cheeks, pretending to be angry. But being held by Ethan like this, her little heart inexplicably started beating faster. Oops, accidental. Ethan scratched his head and steadied himself. After putting on his shoes, he walked out of the room with Grace's support. Only Grace's parents remained in the living room. Ethan, is your foot better? Lily asked with concern. Applied the liniment and hot compress. Much better. Thanks, Mrs. Miller. Ethan smiled. Go back and rest well then. Grace, help him properly. You probably can't ride a bike to school tomorrow morning. You give Ethan a ride these next few days, Lily instructed. Grace. Mom, you are way too nice to stinky Ethan. Okay, I know. Grace responded helplessly and continued to help Ethan back. At Ethan's door, Grace immediately let go. All right, you walk the rest yourself. I'm going back to shower. With that, Grace turned and skipped back to her own home. Ethan smiled and opened the door to his home. As soon as he returned, Mary came out of the kitchen and asked curiously, "Son, why are there 2 computers in your room?" "Oh, I bought them cheap from a recycling company. Fix these 2 up." Giving one to Grace as a birthday present, Ethan confessed honestly. "All right, son, you know how to fix computers? Not bad. Didn't know you had this talent." Mary was pleasantly surprised. "Haha, average, 3rd in the world." Ethan scratched his head and laughed. "Hurry and shower. After you shower, I'll rub your foot. How can you be so careless, twisting your ankle? Good thing it wasn't your hand, or it would affect your studies." Mary put on a stern face. The SATs, aside from marriage and children, were a major life event. A moment to change one's life. Thousands crossing a single log bridge. Scoring well meant a better university and no fear of finding a job later. This was the only way for average families to turn their lives around. Mary placed extreme importance on Ethan's exams and didn't want any mishaps. "I know, Mom. I'll be careful next time," Ethan said, running to his room to get clothes. After showering, Ethan sat in a chair while Mary borrowed the liniment and rubbed his ankle again before letting him go to sleep. After Ethan returned to his room, Mary's expression looked pale and exhausted. She felt a bit dizzy, steadied herself to recover some spirit, and then returned to her room. In the room, Frank was smoking by the window, frowning deeply. Ethan went asleep. "You hurry and wash up too. Smoke less." Mary smiled faintly. Frank exhaled a heavy cloud of smoke, turned around, and sighed. "You really don't intend to tell Ethan?" "No, it's just over a month until his exams. Better not tell him. I'm afraid he'll overthink it and affect his performance. The exams are important to him." Mary's face was pale, revealing a helpless smile. Frank nodded. "True. Let's wait until he finishes the exams. I just spoke to George. He said he can lend us $8,000. That's almost all their savings. I'll go ask second uncle and fourth aunt in a few days. No matter what, let's try to scrape it together. Whatever we can get." Mary shook her head and smiled bitterly. "It's really hard on you. If it doesn't work, then forget it. That little money isn't enough anyway. We need a huge sum, over 100,000. Where are we going to get 100,000? I think let's not waste the effort. Even if we really scrape enough, we'll hardly be able to pay it back later. After the exams, Ethan has to go to college. Keep the money for Ethan's tuition. My body should be able to hold on for 10 or 20 years. Frank shook his head. "What do you get 10 or 20 years? The doctor said if you don't do the surgery soon, if it gets worse, you'll miss the best treatment window. Don't worry about the money. I'll figure it out. Don't set up the stall as much recently. Rest more." After Frank finished speaking, he sighed heavily, his face full of sorrow. Finishing one cigarette, he took another and continued looking at the night outside the window, smoking alone. In the swirling smoke, his back looked even more bent. The next morning, Ethan was still in a dream when he was woken by a banging sound from the window. "Stinky Ethan, wake up. If you don't get up, I'm not waiting for you." Hearing Grace's crisp, sweet voice early in the morning, Ethan opened his eyes, a happy smile involuntarily appearing on his lips. Who wouldn't love an alarm clock like this? He rubbed his sleepy eyes, got up, put on clothes, and opened the curtains. He saw Grace at the window opposite, tying her hair. The morning sun was golden, shining in front of Grace's window, enveloping her, making her seem to radiate light. "Good morning, Grace." Ethan smiled and greeted her. Grace was tying a ponytail with both hands, chest out. Because she turned slightly sideways, she looked much bigger than usual. Truly a mountain range from the front and peaks from the side. The old poets weren't lying. "Not early anymore. Go wash up. I'll pick you up in a bit. No need to make breakfast. My mom made oatmeal for you early this morning." Really, I never got this treatment." Grace pouted, clearly thinking her mother was biased. That's Mrs. Miller being good to me. Talk later. See you soon." Ethan laughed, closed the curtains, and walked quickly out of the room to the bathroom to wash up. When he walked in the bathroom, he realized his ankle didn't seem to hurt. He looked down at his ankle. The swelling was gone, only some bruising left. No pain either. This liniment is powerful. One night, and it's basically healed. Foot pain gone. Mood even better. Ethan hummed a tune, finished washing up, and grabbed his backpack to leave. "Mom, I'm going to school. Mrs. Miller made me oatmeal." Ethan shouted while changing shoes at the door. But after a while, he didn't hear Mary's response from the kitchen. Mom's not up yet?" Confused, Ethan walked into the kitchen and found it empty. The stove was cold. "Mom!" Ethan walked out of the kitchen and called again, but still no answer. Did Mom go out to set up the stall this early? Ethan shook his head and opened the door to leave, just in time to see Grace coming out from across the hall. She was in her usual loose, athletic uniform, full of youthful temperament. "Ethan, is your foot any better?" Grace asked with concern. Ethan's eyes rolled, and a painful look appeared on his face. "Doesn't seem completely healed. Grace, I'll have to rely on you to take me to school these next few days." "Really?" Grace looked at him with a face full of suspicion. Ethan nodded solemnly. "Really? Still hurts a bit. Probably needs a few days of rest. Life is like a play. It all depends on acting. If he didn't do this, would Grace take him to school? Totally played her, huh? Fine, let's go. I'll help you down," Grace said helplessly. Ethan walked down the stairs with her support. "Grace, did you go open the account yesterday afternoon?" Ethan asked. Currently, if you want to get online, you still had to go to the business hall to open an account, then connect the computer via the phone line. The era of fiber optics hadn't arrived yet. It was all dial-up, connecting to a specific ISP number via telephone line analog signal. The speed was incredibly slow, maxing out at 56 kbps. And if you were on the phone, you couldn't surf the web. If you were surfing, you couldn't use the phone. This internet speed was only good for browsing web pages, forums, using ICQ, or playing single-player games. Internet cafes and general businesses would use dedicated broadband. Only with broadband could you play networked games like Counter-Strike. Yeah, my parents agreed. The technician came to install it in the afternoon. But my mom only allows me 30 hours of internet time per month. About an hour a day. Can't be helped. Internet fees are expensive. About 50 or 60 bucks a month. Grace sighed. "Mrs. Miller is afraid you'll focus on surfing the web and neglect your studies." Ethan laughed. "Maybe, but getting to play for an hour every day isn't bad, huh?" Grace became happy in an instant. Women flip their moods faster than flipping a book. "All right, then when I get back from school, I'll help you set up the computer. You asked the installation technician to set up my line too. Time for my house to get a landline installed." Ethan laughed. "Sure. After school, I'll give the technician a heads up." Grace nodded. Approaching the SATs, classes were basically non-existent. Every day, teachers explained practice questions or let students study on their own. School time passed in a blur of intense revision. After school, Tank gave Ethan a ride to Sal Higgins' shop to fix computers first. Starting from the second day, the new apprentice, Gary Holt, began actively asking Ethan about computer repair. Ethan didn't pay him much attention, letting him correct his attitude first. Maybe if he was in a better mood, he'd teach him a thing or two. Gary was totally dominated by Ethan and could only obediently listen and help out, daring not to talk back. After fixing the computers, Ethan returned home. The technician came from the telecom company. This wasn't the massive conglomerate it would become later, but a newly established company handling local operations. Mary saw Ethan return and quickly asked, "Ethan, why did you call someone to install a phone and internet? That costs a lot, right?" Ethan grinned. "Not much. Just 300 or 400. Mom, don't worry. I made some money fixing computers recently. Installing the internet will make it easier for me to learn about computers. These days, fixing computers earned over 7,000 RMB, approximate $900. Plus his savings, Ethan now had about $4,000 in cash on hand. Spending a few hundred to install a phone wasn't a huge expense. Working another month or so would be enough to open the shop. Then the soft furnishings for the shop, plus stocking some computer parts, that would be a very large expense. Mary patted his head and smiled. "My son is great, knowing how to make money so quickly. But you still need to focus on preparing for the exams. Don't get distracted. Also, if you make money, remember to save it for college. Don't spend it recklessly." Seeing Ethan had the ability to earn money, she felt very relieved. Mom, I know, Mom." Ethan smiled in response. But he looked closely at his mother and noticed her face was a bit pale. He couldn't help asking, "Mom, you don't look too good. Are you tired? Do you want to go to the hospital for a checkup?" Mary smiled. "No need. I'm healthy. Still need to get regular checkups. Don't worry about the cost. I have money." Ethan said very seriously. Okay. Mom listens to you. All right? We'll talk about it another day." Mary brushed it off. More than an hour later, the technician finished installing the phone and internet at Ethan's house. After paying, Ethan started connecting the computer on the desk in his room. Installed his computer, dialed up, successfully connected. Awesome. Finally able to surf the net at home. Ethan couldn't be more excited. The internet, simply the greatest invention of the new century. It would change the world. Although the speed was extremely slow and unstable, taking 5 or 6 seconds to load a web page, it didn't affect Ethan's enthusiasm. With his computer, at least he could code and develop software in the future. a solid money-making tool. Software where games developed later could sell for money. How cool is that? In 2000, this was an era where the internet and computers hadn't fully permeated society. Many tools, software, or games hadn't been developed yet. Farmville, Parking Wars, poker, even flash game sites weren't online yet. This market was a vast blue ocean. Ethan opened a few of the most popular sites like Yahoo and AOL. These were information portals and all had their own chat rooms. Currently, chatting in chat rooms, browsing portals, and visiting forums were the main social methods online. As for instant messaging, specifically ICQ or its clones, it wasn't universally dominant yet in this specific context, though it was growing. Ethan remembered this timeline well. However, this year also happened to be the year the dot-com bubble burst. The crisis severely impacted the internet industry. Pulling back his thoughts, Ethan felt he didn't currently have the ability to enter this big internet era. Maybe there will be a chance later. He downloaded an instant messenger client, a very primitive, nostalgic login interface. Gray boxes. The input interface only had user ID and password. At the bottom were 3 navigation links: login, cancel, registration wizard. Ethan followed the wizard and registered an account. It was a 6-digit number. Input account, password, login successful. Truly a great historical moment. The first IM account was born. Ethan named his screen name Maple. While Ethan was immersed in the joy of surfing, Grace could no longer hold back and came knocking. Great, you're playing first and haven't set mine up yet. Grace puffed out her cheeks, fuming. I got excited and almost forgot. Okay, I'll go install it for you now. Ethan laughed. Ethan moved the computer to Grace's room, helped her connect to the network, check the IP address, and debug for optimal speed. After successfully dialing in, he tested the speed. Same speed, a few KB or a dozen KB. It works. Barely usable for browsing websites and forums. Ethan clapped his hands. Yay! Grace jumped up and down excitedly, happy as a child. She couldn't wait to sit in front of the computer and try operating it herself. Ethan helped her bookmark the portal addresses, then taught her some common online activities. Finally, of course, he downloaded the messenger for her and registered an account, then added his own account as a friend. That's it. We can chat online in the future. Ethan nodded with satisfaction. Grace paused, then rolled her eyes at him. Your window is right opposite. Why would I chat with you online? Ethan was speechless. That seemed true. Spending every day with Grace, opening the window to see face to face. Didn't seem to need IM to chat. Then you chat with people online. But be careful. The internet is deep. You can't handle it. Maybe the person chatting with you is a pervert. Don't trust netizens easily, understand? Ethan admonished solemnly. Grace nodded. I know, don't worry. I'm not a kid. All right then, I'm going back. Open the window and yell if you don't understand something. Ethan laughed. After Ethan left, Grace looked at her IM. Suddenly, her eyes rolled and a prank idea arose. Stinky Ethan, watch me mess with you. 10 p.m. After washing up, Grace returned to her room, opened the registration page, registered a new account, and then used the new account to add Ethan as a friend. Stinky Ethan, I'll be your first stranger friend. On the other side, Ethan was sitting in front of the computer browsing forums. Beep, beep, beep. Suddenly, the messenger had a new notification. Opening it, it was a friend request from a stranger named Aquagirl. A stranger adding me already? Suspicious, he accepted the request. Hello. Aquagirl sent a greeting. Ethan typed back. Maple. Who is this? AS/L. Aquagirl. What is AS/L? Maple. Age, sex, location. Are you a guy or a girl? Aquagirl. Girl. Maple. How did you get my number? Aquagirl. Randomly added. Ethan narrowed his eyes, sensing a conspiracy. The add friend function worked by inputting a user number. Although some bored surfers did just search and add randomly, Ethan didn't think anyone would be lucky enough to stumble upon his brand new number so coincidentally. Let's check the IP address. Ethan chuckled lightly and opened his firewall software. Early versions of instant messengers logged local information. Firewall software could record sender and receiver info, and even see the sender's IP address. This address was the chat partner's real IP. In early versions, it wasn't masked or spoofed yet. Ethan scrolled down the firewall log. Behind the earliest chat record lay a string of IP numbers. When he saw this IP address, he couldn't help but pause. Wasn't this the IP address from Grace's house? He had seen this IP this afternoon when setting up her network configuration. That meant this netizen named Aquagirl was actually Grace. A gleam flashed in Ethan's eyes. No wonder. No wonder a stranger added him out of nowhere. Grace must have registered another account to catfish him. Ethan made up his mind. He decided to play along. Let's see who pranks whom. Haha. Little girl, want to play with me? Ethan immediately typed back. Oh, hello, netizen. I thought it was that woman. At this moment, Grace, across the way, received the message. She paused. Who was that woman Stinky Ethan was talking about? Must ask clearly. Aqua girl, what woman? Which woman did you think I was? Maple. Nothing, just a little brat next door. You wouldn't know her even if I told you. Aqua girl, you seem close to her? Maple. Close? Of course we're close. I know every hair on her head. Grace's cheeks flushed. She glared at Ethan's chat window. You know my butt. Shameless. Aqua girl, hee, is that so? Maple. By the way, who are you? Where do you live? Grace hadn't thought of a fake identity yet, so she quickly made one up. Me? I'm from the Northeast. You wouldn't know it. Ethan chuckled, trying to pull the Northeast card. Maple. Really? Let's hear some Northeast slang. I love the accent. It's hilarious. Grace didn't know any Northeast slang. She scratched her head, momentarily stuck for a reply. Unable to come up with anything, she typed, why speak slang while surfing the web? I don't want to. Ethan laughed lightly. All right then. Meeting across thousands of miles is fate. We should communicate more in the future. Get some deep understanding. Grace hummed. Aqua girl, how deep of an understanding do you want? Maple, however deep you want. I don't mind. Just the kind where I know your depth and you know my length. Grace raised an eyebrow. All right, Stinky Ethan. Daring to flirt with girls online. And talking so smoothly too. I'll deal with you slowly. Aqua girl, fine. But I have something to do now. Talk another day. A moment later, Ethan saw the other person's icon turn gray. Offline. Hiv. Grace. Pretending to be a stranger? I'll play with you properly. He also signed off and continued tinkering with the computer. Although the network was poor, it didn't affect the machine's local performance. He needed to set up a C++ environment on the computer and install Java to facilitate coding and software writing later. Ethan planned to make an antivirus program. His computer science major back in the day included network security courses. He had participated in a national internet security competition. Although his team only got third place, it deepened his understanding of network security. Current antivirus software generally used broad-spectrum signature technology. This tech was old and inconvenient for users. What he wanted to make was a heuristic antivirus engine, more advanced, safer, and simpler to use. Given the current computer specs, this antivirus couldn't be large. It had to be concise, simple, and efficient. Not too many features, just enough to work. Once computers became ubiquitous and the internet exploded, he could formally enter the cloud security field. After all, the cybersecurity titans of the future were born from this era. Haha, if I lay out this field first, maybe there won't be any competition later. Clack, clack, clack. Ethan's 10 fingers drummed frantically on the keyboard. After setting up the environment, he began writing code. During the day, Ethan studied hard at school. After school, he went to fix computers. In the evening, after dinner, he wrote code. On weekends, he went to the shop to lay wires, paint walls, buy furniture, do soft furnishings, and casually fix that batch of broken computers. Every day was extremely full and busy. He didn't even have time to go out and play. Not a single day of rest. Over a month passed in this busyness. In the blink of an eye, it was the last weekend before the SATs. Early Saturday morning, Ethan and Tank rushed to the shop. Arriving at the entrance, Ethan looked at the glass door before him, a confident smile on his lips. He believed the shop was enough to make anyone who entered its eyes light up. Above the shop was a simple yet design-forward sign. On the left was a minimalist red maple leaf logo. On the right was the shop name. Westford Electronics, computer repair experts. The reason for Westford was the homophone with she phone, west wind/maple, signifying the starting point of his and Grace's future life. A simple and clear name with a direct suffix. Anyone seeing the sign would know instantly. This was a professional computer repair shop. The first impression of the storefront was very comfortable, fashionable, and minimalist. Ethan knew, of course, that this had the flavor of an Apple store. Entering the shop, the interior decor's main tone was white and pale yellow. For white walls combined with pale yellow recessed lights. On both sides were solid oak tables, and the display shelves were rendered with LED strips for atmosphere. People in such an atmosphere would feel very at ease and comfortable. The shop had 4 main areas. Left and right were display shelves. The central area had 2 solid oak tables, custom-made to Ethan's design, very beautiful and grand. Ethan planned to use these two tables to display computers and various accessories, so customers entering would immediately feel a strong tech vibe. After all, besides repair, Ethan planned to sell custom-built rigs and new or used parts. The third area was the lounge. Not big, but Ethan used leather soft seating. Next to it was a water dispenser and a fashion magazine rack. This area was mainly for customers waiting for their computers to rest temporarily. This area was also where Ethan planned to focus on service improvement later, because this was where contact with customers happened and where customers might stay the longest. It was a key service scene. The fourth area was Ethan's workspace. The wall was covered with a pegboard holding various tools. The desktop also had various testing instruments, pressure gauges, power supply boxes, etc. Although there were many things, it was very tidy and aesthetically pleasing. This area was also made semi-open. Half of the workspace was visible, giving customers a very professional, intuitive feeling. The other half was blocked by a partition, which featured a very sharp, simple West Ford logo. The entire shop gave off a very minimalist, fashionable, high-tech feeling. The design was extremely advanced, and the immersion was strong. Ethan chuckled lightly, very satisfied with his masterpiece. West Ford Electronics, ready for takeoff. Boss, big brother Ethan, Henry Payne, and Hannah came out of the work area to welcome him. Henry, good job. The cleaning is excellent. Ethan patted him on the shoulder and praised. Henry was wearing new clothes and shoes now. Although still a bit thin, his mental outlook was much better than a month ago. Hannah beside him was also clean and tidy, with two cute pigtails, looking adorable. Her hair wasn't as dry and yellow, and her face no longer looked malnourished. Ethan rented a room with a kitchen nearby for them. With wages, their food improved. Eating well meant better health. Just doing my job. Henry's usually stoic face showed a bit of a smile. The shop renovation is done. You guys don't have much to do for now. Just watch the shop. Tank and I are going to the tech tower later. You move that batch of computers to the middle of the shop. Wipe them down with a dust-free cloth. Try to get them as clean as possible. Use that plastic de-yellowing agent to wipe them down so the monitors look newer. Just be careful not to get it inside the machine. Yes, boss. Henry nodded seriously. Ethan smiled. Henry's execution was super strong. He did things meticulously and perfectly. This was inseparable from his personality. Henry was a very introverted person who spoke little. He was sensitive inside and extremely eager for others' approval, especially Ethan's. Such people worked without talking, but did things in detail and well. They weren't afraid of hardship. They just wanted to do the job well to get approval. Ethan hoped he would become more cheerful and extroverted later, but obviously, that wasn't something achievable overnight. Take it slow. Ethan believed he would definitely grow and become better. After delegating tasks, Ethan walked around the shop again, moving the positions of tables and chairs. Finding some places lacking decorations, he noted them in a small notebook to improve later, striving to perfect every detail before opening. Ethan checked the time on his phone. It was already 11 a.m. Time to go to the tech tower. The purpose of this trip was to find a buyer who could digest this batch of used computers and to find some general agent connections for computer parts. For this shop, computer repair was the main business. Selling custom rigs and parts was secondary. But don't underestimate the profit of these two businesses. Custom rigs actually had the highest profit margins, whether new or used. New machines usually had a 30% margin. Used computers had even higher margins, 50% to 100%, depending entirely on the buying and selling price. Like this batch of broken computers. Now that they were fixed, the price difference in selling them would be high, 20, maybe 30 times the cost. Tank, bring the business cards. Let's go. Ethan smiled. Hey, you got it, boss. We have a business and cards now. Tank said happily. Hearing they were going to talk business at the tech tower today, he had specially bought a white shirt and jeans to look more mature. If he wore a t-shirt and slacks, he'd look too green. Taking the business cards, the two left the shop. The tech tower was a bit far from downtown, so they took a taxi directly. About a 20-minute drive later, Ethan and Tank arrived at the tech tower. Ethan stood at the building's entrance, looking at the bustling crowd entering and exiting, a hint of hope in his eyes. The tech tower was a 10-story building. The first 3 floors were an electronics mall, and the upper 7 floors were corporate offices. This was the most concentrated place for electronic products in the entire Chicago suburb area, and also the base for various electronics manufacturers and general agents. Mainly computers and phones, but also some game consoles and electronic instruments. So lively, Tank murmured, shocked by the crowd. Come on, let's go in and browse. Ethan laughed. Ethan led Tank into the building. The first floor was full of game console stalls, phone stalls, and computer part stalls. This was largely an electronics mall facing consumers, all storefronts. Ethan just looked around casually and went directly to the third floor. The third floor specialized in computers and parts. There were fewer people here. Usually, people only came here if they wanted to buy a computer or parts. Ethan circled the third floor a few times, identifying a few large storefronts. These stores sold both used and new computers and also had signs up for buying used computers. Ethan arrived at the entrance of two large stores. These two were right next to each other, doing the same business. There were two women at each entrance greeting passers-by, fighting openly and secretly. Ethan narrowed his eyes. He had a plan. Tank, let's go to this one first. Ethan pointed to the left one, a computer shop called Titan Tech. Okay. Tank nodded, following behind Ethan. At the door of Titan Tech was a woman around 30, wearing heavy makeup. Seeing Ethan and Tank approaching, she quickly stepped forward to greet them enthusiastically. Are you two looking for a computer? Come in, come in. Our shop has a very complete selection. Good specs, high quality, and great prices. Ethan smiled faintly. Hello, I'm here to sell used computers. The woman froze. The smile on her face immediately retracted, and she asked coldly, selling used computers? Oh, what specs? Did you bring them? Buying computers meant bringing money. Selling computers meant asking for money. Her attitude changed abruptly, becoming much colder. Ethan didn't care. He'd seen plenty of people like this. I have a large quantity. I brought the spec list. Can I talk to your boss? The woman said, oh, and remarked casually, our boss just went out. He'll be back in a bit. Why don't you wait? Ethan smiled and turned without hesitation toward the shop on the right. The shop on the right had a young woman, about 20, wearing a professional skirt suit. Seeing the two, the young woman welcomed them warmly. Hello, sir. Is there anything I can help you with? Her tone was gentle and humble. Her attitude was very comfortable. Hello, your shop buys used computers too, right? Ethan confirmed. Yes, we do. Any quantity. Do you want to sell computers? Come, please sit. May I ask what specs? The young woman enthusiastically invited Ethan to sit on the rest chair at the entrance. Ethan took out the prepared spec list. I'm selling a relatively large number. Total of 22 units. This is the list for all of them. Aside from his and Grace's two, Ethan kept one in the shop. The final number to sell was 22, and he deliberately raised his voice so the woman next door could hear. What? 22 units? The young woman covered her mouth in surprise. She hadn't been here long, and it was her first time hearing of someone selling so many computers at once. Only a small to medium-sized company would have that many computers. Sir, please wait a moment. I'll get the boss to talk to you personally. The young woman stood up immediately and turned to leave. The woman next door also heard Ethan's words and was secretly startled. Selling 22 computers could be a big order. Better notify the boss quickly. She immediately took out her phone to dial. However, Ethan had seen all the woman's actions. Haha, now sit back and watch the show. Tank also noticed the woman making a call and glancing at Ethan occasionally. He whispered, Boss, why didn't we wait at the first place? Talk a bit, gauge their interest, then come here. I think she seemed interested. Ethan chuckled lightly and whispered, Tank, learn, selling things is also an art. I didn't go talk to them one by one for a reason. This is called the competitive buying principle, meaning when there is a unique condition for goods, buyers with the same desire and a competitive relationship will fight for the goods, thereby raising the price. Ethan saw he was a bit confused and smiled. Remember last time I took you to Mickey D's? Tank was a bit confused, but thinking of the trip, he nodded. We went for the spicy chicken sandwich, but they were out. Only one grilled chicken sandwich left. The lady in line behind us wanted it too, kept talking, urging us to hurry up. If we didn't buy that last sandwich, the lady behind us definitely would have. Did you notice that at that moment, our demand changed? You ended up really wanting to eat that sandwich. Tank nodded, seemingly understanding something. Boss, was it the atmosphere of snatching it that influenced me? If not for the lady behind us, I wanted to eat the nuggets. Ethan's eyes lit up. He patted his shoulder. Tank, good comprehension. That's because you explained it well, boss. I got it right away. Tank scratched his head, smiling sheepishly. Good. Watch from the side later. Ethan glanced inside the shop. The young woman was walking over with a middle-aged man wearing a blue shirt and black trousers. The man had slick-back hair, gold-rimmed glasses, and a small paunch, looking slightly stout. Hello. I'm the owner of this shop. My name is Neil Powers. How should I address you, young brother? Neil Powers walked up to Ethan, his attitude very warm, and handed both of them a business card from his case. Boss Powers, hello. I'm Ethan Ford. This is my buddy, Wayne Tank Turner. Ethan also pulled a business card out of his pocket and handed it to him. Exchanging business cards was the initial understanding in normal commercial interactions, because the card showed your name, phone number, company title, and main business. West Ford Electronics. Neil paused. He had been in the tech tower for over 5 years and hadn't heard of this shop. Seeing the address on the card, the Metro Mall, the downtown area, he suddenly realized. Brother Ethan is in the same trade? No wonder I heard from Amy you're unloading a batch. 22 computers. Aside from big corporations, only a peer would have that. Neil laughed warmly. I guess. But our shop isn't open yet. It'll be a while before we open for business. I came to the tech tower today, mainly to sell a batch of used computers, so I came to take a look. Ethan explained. Hey, good. Brother Ethan, let's sit down and chat slowly. Please, Neil said politely. His gaze stayed fixed on Ethan, a hint of curiosity in his eyes. This young man looked only about 20, owning a shop so young, and judging by his demeanor and speech, he was particularly mature. Unlike an average fledgling kid, it was surprisingly impressive. He rolled his eyes and laughed. Brother Ethan opening a shop at such a young age. Truly the younger generation is formidable. I haven't seen many young bosses like you. Amazing. Ethan smiled faintly, modest. Mr. Powers flatters me. Just starting out, no experience. I'll need to learn a lot from you in the future. Boss Powers, here is the computer spec list. Take a look. Ethan handed him the list. Neil took the spec list, but inwardly he rated Ethan higher. This young man spoke without revealing his emotions. Praised him, yet didn't look overjoyed. People who knew how to hide their thoughts, true intentions, and even emotions were frightening. Such people had deep schemes. Okay, let me look at the list. Neil carefully browsed the specs of the 22 computers. He found the configurations were from 3 or 4 years ago, mostly internet cafe specs. The new price for these machines wasn't high. The cost-performance ratio was good. Internet cafes liked this to compress costs. Brother Ethan, this batch is all swapped out from an internet cafe? Neil asked in surprise. Ethan moved inwardly. Truly a veteran. Saw it was from an internet cafe, just from the specs. Correct. Indeed, swapped from a cafe. Boss Powers has a sharp eye. Ethan smiled slightly and nodded. Neil laughed. Seen too many. Just practice. Judging by the list, these computers are indeed decent. If the price is right, I can sell them to individual customers. If the machines have no issues, I can definitely take them. How does Brother Ethan plan to sell? Neil narrowed his eyes as he finished speaking, staring fixedly at him, trying to catch any subtle expression on Ethan's face to judge his psychological bottom price. Ethan remained expressionless, seemingly pondering. Hey, is this the young brother who wants to sell computers? Suddenly, a rough voice rang out from the shop next door. Ethan turned to look. A fat man in a suit with a big belly was hurrying over, smiling warmly at Ethan. Hello there. I'm the owner of Titan Tech next door, Vance Hill. Here's my card. How should I address you, young brother? Vance Hill handed out his card. Ethan Ford. Ethan smiled slightly, standing up to accept the card with both hands. Hello, Boss Hill. I went to your shop just now, but found you weren't in, so came over here to sit. Ethan left room in his words, also signaling to Vance that he hadn't reached a deal with Neil yet. Vance was naturally a shrewd person too. Hearing Ethan's words, a gleam flashed in his eyes. Is that so? My apologies. I just went to the restroom. My clerk heard someone was selling a batch of computers, so I rushed back. What spec are you selling, Brother Ethan? Let me see too. Vance laughed. Seeing Vance, Neil frowned, an unhappy look appearing on his face. Boss Hill, this is uncool. Didn't you see I was talking business with Brother Ethan, barging into my shop and trying to cut in right in front of me? Isn't that a bit excessive? Towards the end, his tone turned colder. Their two shops were right next to each other, doing identical business. They stole customers and competed constantly. Vance brazened it out, scoffing. Boss Powers, you haven't closed the deal yet. How can you say I'm cutting in? Besides, who gets this business isn't decided yet. Neil's face was ugly, but he couldn't say much. He suppressed his anger, his expression returning to normal. Boss Hill, for you to swallow these 22 machines might be a bit difficult, Neil said calmly. Although he said this to Vance, it was meant for Ethan, meaning Vance's funds were limited. Not as financially strong as him, Neil Powers. Ethan was a veteran of the business world. He heard Neil's implication immediately, but he didn't mind another competitor. So he laughed. If Boss Hill is interested, sit down and chat too. Take a look at the spec list. Good, I'll look first. Vance pulled out a chair and sat down, disregarding that this was Neil's shop, Pioneer Systems. He picked up the list on the table, scanned it, and nodded. Cafe computers from a few years ago. Specs are okay, still usable. Brother Ethan, I'm quite interested in this batch. Are you selling individually or bundled? Ethan looked at Neil and smiled. Selling individually is too troublesome. I'm bundling. 22 computers, $8,000. And for all machines, our shop provides a 1-year warranty. Repair or replace if there are issues. Averaging just over $360 per unit. For these specs, that price wasn't high. Actually a bit cheap. Ethan estimated that if sold individually to personal customers, a single unit could sell for $500 to $600. If they had existing customers, there was definitely profit. Both bosses were insiders, so Ethan didn't mess around. He stated his bottom price directly. Hearing Ethan's price, Vance and Neil couldn't help but show slight joy. And hearing Ethan dared to offer a 1-year warranty, that was too good a deal. Usually, used computers were only warranted for 3 months. After that, repairs cost extra. A 1-year warranty truly tempted them. A slightly low price plus a 1-year warranty. As long as the computers worked, buying them was pure profit. Ha! Brother Ethan really knows business. This price isn't too high. I'll take it. Vance spoke up immediately. From the pricing, he sensed this young man wasn't simple. Knew how to handle people, knew business even better. Ethan smiled slightly. Make money together, right? If I asked too high, you wouldn't buy. Neil didn't want to be beaten by Vance. So he immediately said to Ethan, Brother Ethan, you daring to offer a year warranty shows great sincerity. And I'll offer a flat price. $8,500. Sell these 22 machines to me. After speaking, Neil glanced coldly at Vance. Let him steal this good deal. Vance huffed coldly, saying sarcastically to Neil, Boss Powers is generous. But Vance Hill, I've been doing this for years. I have some capital. Brother Ethan, I offer $9,000. Sell this batch to me. Neil's face went cold. He immediately shouted, $9,500, $9,800, $10,000, $10,200. The two went back and forth, constantly raising the price. The atmosphere was tense. The smell of gunpowder was strong. Neil narrowed his eyes, slammed the table, and shouted, $11,000. If Boss Hill adds more, I'll happily let you have it. Hearing the number 11,000, Tank's heart nearly jumped into his throat. $11,000. That was $11,000. An average family's annual expenses were only about $3,000 or $4,000. He had never seen so much money, nor could he imagine how high a pile of $11,000 would be. But this amount was enough to make an ordinary person happy for a whole year. Vance choked, opened his mouth, but finally calmed down. If he raised the price again, it wouldn't be very profitable. Might even lose a little. Buying it to work for free, $11,000 was already very high. Even if he sold them all, the profit would be thin. Not worth it. Businessmen don't do losing trades. Vance's face was dark and ugly. After thinking for a moment, he sneered, since Boss Powers is dead set on taking this batch, I'll be the bigger man. Business booming to you, Boss Powers. I have things to do, leaving now. Vance cupped his hands and stood up to leave. Since the deal failed, he didn't want to stay and see Neil's smug face. Seeing Vance leave, a relaxed smile finally appeared on Neil's face. Although $11,000 was high, there was still profit. Just less. But making Vance leave with a dark face, that money was well spent. He turned to look at Ethan and smiled. Brother Ethan, I key my word. $11,000 it is. I'll buy your batch. Consider us friends. If there's business in the future, let's look out for each other, haha. Ethan just chuckled lightly, not showing much joy. He nodded. Boss Powers is a straightforward man. I'm happy to make friends with you. As the saying goes, one more friend, one more path. More friends, wider roads. I've always been one to make friends. Neil looked at him with appreciation. This young man's speech was watertight. Such composure was truly not to be underestimated. Are the computers at your shop today? Can I inspect them same day? Neil asked. They are. Anytime. Awaiting your arrival, Boss Powers. Ethan smiled. Then I'll go back with you later. As long as the machines have no issues. Neil stood up. He always acted decisively, never dragging his feet. Decisions were acted upon immediately. Brother Ethan, wait here a moment. I'll get some things. Amy, pour some tea for these two brothers. Neil shouted into the shop, then walked quickly into the back office behind the display counter. After he walked away, Tank looked at Ethan, his face full of worship, and whispered, Boss, that move was brilliant. Ethan Ford chuckled, patting his friend on the shoulder. Tank, remember this. If you're ever the seller, you have to master this technique. The scarcity principle is a marketing weapon. It's simple and practical. This principle evolved into a business strategy called hunger marketing. You release limited stock to create a false impression of shortage. Customers rushing to buy allows you to maintain high prices and profit margins. Wayne Tank, Turner looked stunned. Brilliant. People really fall for that. Ethan knocked on the table, his expression serious. Actually, this kind of marketing is already everywhere. Many companies use it. Because it's simple, easy, and effective, it's become a standard tactic. Take McDonald's, specifically the McRib. They could easily make it a permanent item. It's just a molded pork patty, but they only bring it back for limited times. People go crazy for it every time. They rely on the unique advantage of their product and use the scarcity principle to make people scramble for it. If they sold it year-round, sure, they'd make money, but the hype would die, and customers would complain when prices went up. Tank looked enlightened, as if a door to a new world had just opened. Ethan watched him, thinking hard, and smiled, letting him process it. Tank was his most trusted brother and would be his right-hand man in the future. He might be a bit simple now, but that didn't mean he'd stay that way. As long as he was in business, he'd get sharper. A young woman named Annie brought over 2 cups of tea. Please wait a moment, gentlemen. The boss will be out shortly, she said with a polite smile. No problem. We're in no rush, Ethan nodded. 10 minutes later, Neil Powers came out wearing a fresh jacket. His hair was slicked back with oil, clearly freshly groomed. Ethan nodded inwardly. Neil understood business etiquette. He wasn't just some small-time shopkeeper. Average small business owners didn't pay attention to these details. Only businessmen with a certain social standing and ambition did. Because when you stepped out, you were the face of your business. Sorry to keep you waiting. Shall we head out? Neil said apologetically. Not at all. Mr. Powers, are you driving? Or should we hail a cab together? I'm just starting my venture, so I haven't bought a car yet, Ethan admitted frankly. In front of a man like Neil, showing some authenticity made you seem more sincere. Neil laughed. In that case, I'll drive. I'm sure in the future, my young friend Ethan will be buying several luxury cars, driving a different one every day. He found this young man increasingly interesting. Sincere, yet calm and seasoned. His actions were watertight. If a guy like this didn't succeed, who would? Building a relationship with him now might benefit him in the future. You're joking, Mr. Powers. Driving a different car every day? The maintenance alone would kill me, Ethan replied casually. The 3 of them chatted as they took the elevator down to the parking lot. What surprised Ethan was that Neil was driving a BMW 5 Series, the E39 chassis. In the current market, this car started at around $50,000. Fully loaded, it could push 60 or 70 grand. A $50,000 car in the year 2000 was undeniably a luxury vehicle. There weren't many people in the Chicago suburbs who could afford such a ride. Usually, they were millionaires. Mr. Powers, you're full of surprises. People who drive an E39 aren't simple, Ethan complimented casually. You actually recognize this model? Neil was surprised. It's an import. Not many people know the chassis code. I've read about it in magazines. BMW's latest pride and joy, the benchmark for luxury sedans. Not many people around here can afford one, Ethan said, running his hand over the hood admiringly. Haha, you flatter me. There are plenty of rich folks in Chicago. I'm nobody. I didn't even buy this car. I don't have that kind of capability yet. My old man gave it to me. It drives nice, so I kept it, Neil said as he opened the door. Ethan sat in the passenger seat, Tank in the back. On the road, Ethan and Neil talked about everything from history to current events. Ethan controlled the rhythm of the conversation, his wit drawing frequent laughter from the driver's seat. Neil drove, occasionally glancing deeply at Ethan. This young man was extraordinary. No matter the topic, Ethan had insight. He had a very firm, rational understanding of the future. From the internet to manufacturing, he seemed to see right through to the trends of tomorrow. To have such long-term vision and understanding of industry. He was no ordinary person. What was even more terrifying was discovering during their chat that Ethan was only 18, a student about to take his SATs. A monster. He was an absolute monster. How could such a young genius exist? Listening to Ethan talk confidently about the future of manufacturing, Neil's shock only grew. About half an hour later, the car arrived downtown and pulled into the alleyway, stopping in front of Ethan's shop. Mr. Powers, this is my shop, Ethan said, getting out with a smile. Neil was immediately attracted by the storefront renovation. On the left was a simple, stylish red maple leaf logo that exuded a sense of technology. On the right was a concise introduction. Westford Electronics, computer repair experts. The minimalist and stylish facade instantly grabbed attention. This shop is renovated beautifully, Neil exclaimed in surprise. Mr. Powers, please come in. This is my turf. You can make yourself at home. Ethan laughed. You're funny, Ethan. I wouldn't dare make a mess here. Neil strode toward the shop. Tank ran ahead to hold the glass door open for them. The moment Neil entered the store, he was stunned by the sight before him. Looking at everything in the shop, one word floated into his mind. Perfect. Then 2 words. Incredible. The shop wasn't huge, but it had everything. The functional areas were clearly divided, and the decor style of each area was harmonious and unified. Recessed lighting and LED strips created a warm atmosphere, exuding a minimalist, high-tech aesthetic everywhere. It was intoxicating. This was the art of design. This shop was amazing. Ethan, this is your store? Which master designer did the interior for you? Neil asked in astonishment. The more he looked at the shop, the more excited he became. It was incredible. Every detail was so comfortable to the eye. He had seen many retail stores and hotels, but this was the best design he had ever seen. Yes, the best. It was like a work of art, an absolutely forward-thinking aesthetic. No master designer. I designed it myself. Ethan replied calmly. What? You designed this yourself? This is your work? Neil turned to look at him, dumbfounded, completely flabbergasted. Unbelievable. This young man knew interior design and could design such a stylish, tech-savvy shop. Such design, capability, and artistic sense were breathtaking. Seeing his stunned look, Ethan was secretly amused. Mr. Powers, the computers you wanted are over there, lined up and ready. Go plug them in one by one. Boot them up so Mr. Powers can inspect the machines, Ethan ordered. You got it. Henry nodded. Tank went over to help. Neil finally snapped out of it, taking a deep breath. Ethan, you really are a genius. This is the best storefront I've ever seen. If you entered a competition, you'd definitely win the Best Design Award. Neil didn't spare his praise. The shop's design deserved it, and its owner, Ethan, deserved it. You're too kind. Please, Ethan smiled, extending a hand. Neil reached out his hand to shake, then paused. Wait a minute. Before inspecting the machines, there's one thing I need to discuss with you. Ethan paused, his heart sinking slightly. Was there a variable? Go ahead, Mr. Powers. What is it? Ethan asked calmly, his expression unchanging. Neil immediately switched to a flattering face, rubbing his hands together. Could you help me design a shop like this, too? Ethan, he thought it was something serious. It turned out to be this. Seeing Ethan's stunned expression, Neil thought he was reluctant and quickly added, Don't worry, as long as you design it, I'll pay you a huge design fee. Ethan stared at him for a second, then smiled. That's no problem. Forget the design fee. You treat me as a friend, Mr. Powers, so we won't talk about money for that. Designing a shop wasn't hard for Ethan. He could knock it out in a night. It was better to do it as a favor. If Neil owed him one, he'd be easier to deal with in the future. Neil looked surprised that Ethan turned down the fee, but his appreciation for the young man grew. This kid was solid. Haha. In that case, I'm counting on you, my friend, Neil said sincerely. Please inspect the machines first. Ethan gestured. Neil nodded and began the inspection. Friendship was friendship. Business was business. Neil didn't relax his testing just because Ethan agreed to help with the design. He booted them up one by one, checked the component specs, tested performance, then opened the cases to check for wear on the parts. 2 hours flew by before he finished inspecting all 22 machines. The machines have been repaired, but the repair work is high quality. The parts are 80% new, no issues with usage. These machines meet the criteria. I accept them. Neil smiled with satisfaction. The batch was better than he expected. Although there were signs of repair, the workmanship was excellent and the traces were minimal. The parts should last a few years without issue. Overall, buying these computers wasn't a loss. He could definitely resell them, especially with a 1-year warranty guarantee. You have a sharp eye, Mr. Powers, Ethan complimented. Neil chuckled, then suddenly asked, You have some talented people working for you, Ethan. The repair level on these parts is so high. It's clearly the work of a master. Tank stood by the side, beaming proudly. Mr. Powers, the master you're talking about isn't anyone else. It's Ethan. Neil's eyes widened in shock as he looked at Ethan. What? You fix these? You know how to repair computers. Ethan nodded with a slight smile. If I didn't, I wouldn't have opened a computer repair shop. Wow, I didn't expect you to have such technical skills on top of everything else. A genius, Neil exclaimed. This young man knew so much. His future was limitless. Neil was even more determined to befriend Ethan. A genius like this was like a carp leaping over the Dragon Gate. Once the opportunity arose, he would be unstoppable. You flatter me, Mr. Powers. Next, shall we sign a contract? Business is business. We should follow the process, Ethan said humbly. Right, let's sign. Neil nodded. Ethan took out the prepared contract for him to review. Neil read it carefully several times, raised no objections, and readily agreed to sign. They signed on the spot, stamped their seals, and exchanged copies. Pleasure doing business, Ethan. I'll have someone transfer the funds shortly, Neil said, extending his hand. Ethan shook it warmly. No rush. Whenever you have a moment. Let's grab a bite to eat together. I'll treat you to the Great Lake Grill. How about it? Dining together suited Ethan perfectly. He wanted to build a relationship with Neil, too. Sure, let's have a few drinks. Ethan turned to Henry and Tank. You guys don't need to cook. Come eat with us. Hannah can stay and watch the shop. Okay, Ethan. Henry responded. Ethan, I'll call ahead and book a booth, Tank said sharply, pulling out his phone. Ethan had bought him a second-hand mobile phone to make communication easier. That afternoon, the group went to the Great Lake Grill for dinner. Ethan and Neil enjoyed the meal thoroughly. Both were relatively sincere people and found it easy to talk. After a few drinks, they were acting like old friends, ignoring the age gap. At the table, Ethan didn't talk business or career, just friendship. It was their first day knowing each other. Sometimes you couldn't go too deep. Ethan knew exactly how to measure the conversation against the stage of the relationship. Tank accompanied them the whole time, occasionally pulling out a notebook to secretly record Ethan's conversational techniques. Henry just kept his head down and ate, saying nothing, looking a bit reserved and nervous. The meal lasted over 2 hours, stretching until 6 in the evening before they parted ways. Neil called a friend to drive his car and offered to drop Ethan off, but Ethan politely declined. Sometimes you had to stop at the right point. Relationships needed to be built step by step, not rushed. It was a push-and-pull technique in business relationships. After sending Neil off, Ethan, Tank, and Henry returned to the shop. Shortly after arriving, Ethan received a text message from his bank. First City Bank, dear customer, your debit account ending in 2213 has received a deposit of $11,000,000. Current balance. Ethan saw the balance and was overjoyed. 11 grand deposited. Neil was efficient. He had earned a good amount repairing computers at Fatty Zhao's place over the last month, but the shop renovation had cost him about $5,000. The furniture was expensive for a reason. Leather chairs, sofas, 2 slabs of solid oak, flooring, ceiling work, and so on. Plus, stocking up on repair equipment had cost a lot. Now, with over $15,000 in the account, he had enough startup capital. He needed to order a batch of computer parts and do some marketing, which would take money. Ethan, what's the good news? Why are you smiling like that? Tank asked, poking his head over curiously. Ethan grinned. Neil's money came through. A clean $11,000. What? That's awesome. Tank jumped up in excitement. 11 grand in one go. That was the largest sum of money he had ever seen. Come on, let's buy some things to take back. I'll get a gift for your mom, too, as a token of my appreciation. Then we'll head to Fatty Zhao's and finish today's work, Ethan said. You got it. The two went to the Metro Mall for a round of shopping, wanted to bring some gifts home. Ethan bought 2 sets of clothes for his parents and some tobacco and wine for Grace's parents. By the time they finished shopping and got to Sal Higgins' shop, it was already 8 in the evening. Ethan walked in front, entering the shop, with Tank following behind carrying bags large and small. Mr. Higgins, how many machines to fix today? Ethan asked with a smile. Sal Higgins sat behind the counter. He didn't stand up to welcome them, speaking coldly. Oh, just one. Huh, no way. Just one on a weekend. Ethan narrowed his eyes at him. He sensed a change in Sal's attitude. He wasn't as enthusiastic as before. Just one left. Gary fixed the others, Sal smiled smugly. Mr. Higgins, that's not cool, is it? We agreed he was just an assistant and I would do the repairs. This isn't very ethical of you, Ethan said coldly. After more than a month, Gary Holt had indeed learned some things. He could fix simple problems now. But Ethan hadn't expected Sal to bypass him so quickly and let Gary do the repairs himself. Fatty Zhao was too impatient. Sure enough, it had come to this step, just faster than Ethan had anticipated. Hearing this, Sal's face turned colder. He stood up, straightened his clothes, and said, Ethan, Gary's been learning for so long. It's time he graduated. What's wrong with letting him test his skills? Besides, this shop is mine. The customers are mine. I can let whoever I want fix them. Do I need your permission? Tank's face flushed with anger. Bullshit. Mr. Higgins, you agreed before that only Ethan would fix the machines. Now you're giving them to Holt? What does that mean? You don't keep your promises at all. Is this how you do business? Sal sneered. Tank, when did I say I'd only give them to Ethan? Do you have proof? Did I ever say those exact words? Tank was so angry he couldn't speak, glaring at him. You want to punch that greasy, fat face right now. Enough, Tank. Ethan's face was calm as he stopped Tank's impulse. Mr. Higgins, speak your mind. Doing this. How do you expect us to cooperate in the future? A look of triumph flashed in Sal's eyes. So this kid has his day of reckoning too? That's what you get for not cooperating nicely with me. You still want to make money here? Dream on. As long as I have a replacement, you're useless to me. Ethan, why don't you consider my previous proposal? I'll pay you as a technical consultant. You only train people. For every person you train, I'll give you a bonus. How about it? You won't have to work so hard fixing things yourself anymore. Sal grinned sleazily, staring at Ethan, wanting to see his reaction. But Ethan's face remained calm, showing no fluctuation at the proposal. Hey, Mr. Higgins, you want me to step back behind the scenes just so you can pocket the repair money yourself, right? Ethan exposed his hypocrisy in one sentence. Sal huffed coldly, neither confirming nor denying. Ethan's mouth curled into a mocking smile. Let me help you train people so you can expand the business and make a fortune, and I just earn a labor fee? Mr. Higgins, aren't you dreaming a little too big? You think I'd agree to those terms? Sal shrugged indifferently. If you agree, we can continue to cooperate. We can make money together. If you don't, well, then I'm sorry. Starting tomorrow, you don't need to come in. With these words, Sal Higgins finally tore off the mask and broke ties with Ethan completely. He revealed his true purpose, to monopolize the repair money. He had long been envious of the money Ethan made from repairs. In just over a month, Ethan had made $7,000 or $8,000, more than Sal made selling computers. Such a huge profit was enough to make him greedy. Now that he had Gary Holt, he naturally didn't want Ethan taking that slice of the pie. Well, Ethan, make up your mind. Sal smiled smugly, feeling he had Ethan completely under his thumb. Ethan laughed coldly. Mind? I made up my mind that you can go eat shit. Sal's face flushed with anger. What did you say? Eat shit. Ethan enunciated clearly, smiling. I didn't like coming here anyway. Tank, let's go. Ethan turned and walked away without any hesitation. His own shop was opening in a few days anyway. He wouldn't have time to fix machines for Sal. And in the future, they would be competitors. Right behind you, Ethan. Tank grabbed his bags and quickly followed. Sal's face was dark as he waddled out the door, shouting at Ethan's back. Ethan, you ain't nothing. Ungrateful little punk. Tooey. On the way home, Tank was still fuming. Ethan, that fat bastard is too much. He made it clear he wanted to dump you and hog the repair money. Son of a bitch. Before, he said we'd handle the repairs, and now that he has that Holt kid, he kicks us to the curb. So shameless. Ethan rode his bike, his expression calm, not sharing Tank's rage. He had expected this to happen sooner or later. It was just a bit faster than he thought. Tank, there's no need to get angry at people like that. It just ruins your own mood. Remember, in business, there are no eternal friends, only eternal interests. No matter how tight you are with a partner, if the profit is big enough to tempt them, they will likely turn on you. Flipping on you is common. Plenty of so-called friend will stab you in the back at critical moments. Ethan spoke calmly. He had seen too much of this, experienced too much. That was why he became colder in business. When dealing with business people, you couldn't trust them completely. No matter how you cooperated, you always had to keep a card up your sleeve. Tank listened to Ethan's words and nodded heavily. Right, Ethan? I know. I'll remember that. He etched Ethan's words deep into his heart. All right, we made good money today. Cheer up, Ethan smiled. By the way, I see you and Sally have been getting close lately. Is there something going on? Tank's round face showed a rare, shy expression. There's a little bit of progress. Ethan, I followed your advice. I want to find her every day, thick-skinned, treated her to ice cream and snacks. She seems to accept me a bit now. I feel like there's hope. Ethan was surprised. Really? I didn't think you had it in you, you big lug. It's all thanks to your teaching, Ethan. Tank laughed simply, looking blissful. You'll have to keep at it. Sally, she might be a tough nut to crack. Ethan smiled. He had seen Sally. She was pretty, indeed one of the class flowers, but she liked to play around. She hung out with a lot of guys in the class. And he heard she was close with some guys from the next class over. The girl looked shrewd. Tank was naive and simple when it came to chasing girls. It might not be easy to win her over. Yeah, Ethan, I'll work hard, Tank said spiritedly. The two rode and chatted through the night, arriving back at the neighborhood before long. After parting with Tank in the compound, Ethan was in a good mood, humming a tune as he ran home. But when he opened the door, it was quiet inside. No sound of his parents talking. Where did Mom and Dad go? Ethan scratched his head in confusion. Mom? Dad? He called out twice in the house. No response. Where could they be? Usually, at this time, his parents would be watching TV. Did they go visit neighbors? Maybe. Whatever. He'd wait for them to come back and surprise them. Ethan put his parents' gifts in his room, then hid the gift for Grace Miller in a bag and went across the hall to Grace's house. He knocked on the door. Is Princess Grace home? After a moment, rapid footsteps came from inside, and the door opened. Huh? Smelly Ethan, why are you back so late? Where did you go fooling around? Grace was wearing a loose pink nightgown. A pair of long, shapely legs were exposed beneath the hem. She was drying her wet hair with a towel, her exquisite face flushed red, her snow-white skin glowing pink, radiating the alluring charm of someone fresh from a bath. Ethan's eyes went straight immediately. Damn, Grace, you little temptress. Coming out dressed like this to seduce this old monk? I'll have to use my demon-subduing staff on you one day. Grace was drying her hair and didn't hear a reply. She glanced at him and realized Ethan's eyes were sizing her up. Her cheeks instantly reddened, and she glared at him. Smelly Ethan, what are you looking at? Cough, nothing. I was just wondering when I should buy a couple of toy planes to play with, Ethan said with a straight face. Planes? Why play with planes? Wanted to test out the landing strip. Grace paused, then looked down her chest. The loose nightgown covered everything. She suddenly understood his meaning. Detestable. Smelly Ethan, you're asking for a beating. Grace blushingly grabbed Ethan's right hand, put him in a joint lock, and secured him from behind. Ow, pain. Let go. Ethan pretended to cry out, though it didn't really hurt. But he felt his back pressed against something soft. Seemed not small. Is she having a second growth spurt? Seeing him cry pain, Grace let go and let him in. Spill it. Why are you back so late? Where were you? You smell like smoke and alcohol. Did you go drinking again? Grace put her hands on her hips, glaring at him like a strict wife. Ethan closed the door and looked up at the ceiling. Your parents aren't home? Let's talk in your room. Don't look at me like that. I had a business dinner. Couldn't help it. Grace pinched her nose in disgust. Business dinner? Instead of reviewing for exams? What the hell kind of business? They went into her room together and closed the door. Hey, how come your parents aren't home either? My parents aren't home. Did they go out together? Ethan asked curiously. Grace shook her head. I don't know where they went, but they definitely went out together. Oh, Ethan scratched his head, puzzled. Recently, he had indeed seen his parents going out with Grace's parents occasionally. He didn't know where. They never said anything when they came back. Forget it. He'd ask when they returned. Ethan plopped down onto Grace's bed, lying back comfortably. Grace's bed was soft and smelled nice. Smelly Ethan, you stink and you're sleeping on my bed? Get up. Grace bared her little tiger teeth, warning him seriously. Stinky man, stinky man. If I didn't stink, how could I be a man? It's fine. Let me lie down and rest. I'm exhausted today. Ethan laughed thick-skinned. No, get up. Grace climbed onto the bed, trying to pull him up. But Ethan grabbed the sheets and refused to move. Grace puffed up her cheeks, disregarded everything, and sat directly on his stomach, grabbing his collar with both hands to haul him up. Get up. No, then I'll strangle you. Stop. Grace, do you like this position? What do you mean? I have 10,000 ways to strangle you. Tell me, which posture do you prefer? Ethan acted shy. As long as you like it, I can accept any position. Grace froze, looked down, and realized she was sitting on Ethan wearing a nightgown. Her face turned apple red instantly, and she scrambled off. Smelly Ethan, I'm gonna hit you. Grace's little fist was about to fall. Stop. Can you not hit the face? Why not? Because I have to make a living with this face. Dream on. Her small fist fell like raindrops on Ethan. It didn't hurt. Actually, it felt kind of nice. But Ethan cooperated by howling in pain. Finally, she dragged him up with her domineering brute force. No lying on my bed. Okay, no more playing. I have a gift for you. Grace, holding his collar, suddenly froze. Gift? For me? What gift? Ethan picked up the bag from the bedside and handed it to her. Look for yourself. You'll definitely like it. Grace let him go, took the bag, looked inside, and pulled out a box. When she saw the image on the box, she froze. Then her expression turned to joy. A Walkman. A Walkman. She shouted in excitement. It was the Sony Walkman she had always wanted. She could carry it anywhere and change cassette tapes. And this model came with headphones. Now she could listen to music anytime, anywhere. She had wanted to buy one for a long time, but didn't have the money and didn't want to ask her parents. She planned to work a summer job after the SATs to buy one. She excitedly stroked the box, happy as a child with a new toy. Ethan saw her surprised look, and a smile curled his lips. Just as he thought, she loved it. Ethan, is this really for me? You be kind enough to give me a Walkman? Grace looked at him suspiciously, as if suspecting an ulterior motive. What's with that look? I made some money, so I bought you a gift. What's wrong with that? Relax, no strings attached. Ethan laughed. Then, thank you. Grace felt warm inside and smiled sweetly. Ethan was actually a good guy. He knew to buy her a gift. He was worth keeping around. Ethan laughed roguishly. Grace, is thank you all I get? How about you give me a kiss? Left cheek or right cheek? Take your pick. Ethan twisted left and right, leaning his face toward her. Grace's pretty face blushed as she glared at him. In your dreams, smelly Ethan actually tried to negotiate terms with me? Detestable. Ethan laughed. All right, just kidding. Open it up and see if it works. Grace huffed and started tearing the packaging. As she unwrapped it, she said, for the sake of the Walkman, this lady will cook you a delicious meal as a reward. Ethan, Grace, is this how you repay kindness with enmity? Every time he remembered the noodles Grace cooked, Ethan felt a reflexive urge to gag. It was a dark memory. Please, I've been looking up recipes online recently. I'm learning to cook. Grace glared at him, putting on airs. So you've cooked them? Not yet. Still in the learning phase. Haven't practiced. And you want to cook for me? I'm looking for a taste tester. Uffed. Grace, you want my life. No deal. Grace looked up and stared at him, rubbing her fist. Crack, crack. Is my cooking really that bad? I wouldn't say bad. I'd say lethal. Okay, this isn't non-negotiable. We can talk about it. Smart choice. Now, can you take your hand off my neck? Grace satisfiedly lowered her hand and continued unboxing. After opening the box, a brand new Walkman appeared before her eyes, along with the headphones. So cool. Grace excitedly took the Walkman out, examining it with delight. Ethan leaned in, put in the batteries, put in a tape, tried turning it on. Okay, wait a sec. Grace scrambled off the bed, dug batteries and a cassette tape out of her bookshelf, ran back, and put the batteries in herself. What are you listening to? Ethan asked curiously. Karen Mock's actually, it's Karen Mock. It's so good. Grace tried to insert the tape, then scratched her head. How do you use this? How do I open it? Ethan took the Walkman. Let me see. You're forcing it. Forcing it? No way. I was putting in straight. You put in backwards. Not like that. You have to align it with this black slot first, then slowly slide it in. Don't use too much force or go too fast. It'll hurt. I mean, break it. You have to control your strength. Like this. Insert it slowly, push it deep, until you hear a click. Ethan demonstrated for her. Click. The tape was firmly seated in the Walkman. Grace beamed. It really works? Ethan, you're great at inserting things. Ethan couldn't help but sputter with laughter. Cough. You only just realized my talent? You can experience it properly in the future. Experience what? It's just inserting a tape. Don't let it go to your head. Grace rolled her eyes at him. Tape in, switch on. The machine whirred to life, and music flowed out. Suddenly, darkness falls. The world could suddenly have nothing. I thought of you. Grace hummed along with the song, her two long, smooth legs swinging up and down off the edge of the bed in time with the rhythm. The loose nightgown rode up unconsciously, and Ethan's eyes were glued to it. That was the promised land for men of ambition. If Grace wore stockings, that would be a finishing move, right? Ethan's brain filled with images of Grace in the absolute territory of thigh highs, and blood rushed to his head. Can't do this. No man could withstand it. Ethan, want to listen together? It sounds better with headphones. Grace asked suddenly. Ethan gathered his wits and smiled. Of course. Let me hear. Grace plugged in the cord and shared one earbud with him. Ethan took it, put it in his ear, and sure enough, the sound quality was great. He lay back on the bed, listening comfortably. Because the cord wasn't long enough, Grace had to lie down too, right beside him. The two lay on the bed together, quietly listening to the music, immersed in the soul-touching voice. Ethan smelled the scent coming from Grace, body fragrance mixed with shampoo. It was refreshing and plucked a string deep in his heart. It was the feeling of a crush. Ethan turned his head slightly to look at Grace. From the side, he could see her exquisite profile, long eyelashes, sculpted little nose, beautiful lip line. Every detail was perfect, like a masterpiece carefully crafted by God. Grace really was beautiful, breathtakingly so. No matter which school she was in, she would undoubtedly be the top beauty. No wonder the line of guys chasing her or crushing on her could circle the track 10 times. Why hadn't he thought she was this pretty before? Was it because they were too familiar? Maybe. Distance makes the heart grow fonder, but proximity makes you blind to beauty. Grace, are you thinking about dating in college? Ethan chuckled and asked suddenly. Grace turned her head, looking at him puzzled. Why ask that all of a sudden? Just answer me. I don't know. Maybe. If nobody wants you, I can consider taking you in. Ethan, is your skin itching again? Kidding? This lady can't find a date? There are so many people chasing me. Plenty chased you in high school. Didn't see you date any of them? That's because none of them caught my eye. Okay. Standards too high. Of course. The guy I like should be a great hero riding a multicolored cloud. You kidding? I can't fly. Want to consider the hero's sidekick? The kind that doesn't fly? No. Then enjoy being single forever. Smelly Ethan, I'll hit you. Grace flipped over, hands going for his neck, teeth bared, fiercely cute. Then she lifted her leg to kick him. Her cute little foot was smooth and round, toes like pearls. Eat my foot. Ethan's eyes lit up. Such a reward exists? He grabbed her leg, opened his mouth, and pretended to bite down. Grace was startled and quickly retracted her leg, puffing up her cheeks and glaring at him. Smelly Ethan, were you really going to bite? Are you a dog? Ethan, woof woof Grace, underscore. Smelly Ethan, you pervert. Thanks for the compliment. I'm honored. Damn it, I'll strike first. Whoa, Grace, you're actually biting. Grace clamped her legs firmly around him, grabbed his right arm, and bit down. Ow. Ethan yelped in pain and quickly used his left hand to tickle her waist. Grace feared nothing but being tickled. The moment Ethan started, she had to let go, laughing, trembling like a flower in the wind. So ticklish. Don't tickle me. See if you dare bite me again. Smelly Ethan, I'll fight you. The two tickled and wrestled, laughing and shouting. Ethan tickled her, and she used her hands to block. Suddenly, she pulled Ethan's hand upward, and it landed right on her chest. Ethan froze. He felt like he had grabbed something. Soft. He squeezed. Why is it so soft? He looked down. Grace felt the rogue hand and looked down at the same time. For a moment, both of them froze. Grace blinked. Then her face flushed as red as an apple. Smelly Ethan. Grace, listen to my defense. No, listen to my explanation. Bam. Ethan was kicked off the bed. Grace stood up, face burning, looking ashamed and angry, ready to terminate Ethan on the spot. Ethan naturally wouldn't wait to die. He scrambled up and used a chair as a shield. Grace, calm down. I really didn't mean to. Grace rubbed her fist. Wait until my fist hits you. It won't be on purpose either. Explain it to my knuckles. Ethan twitched his mouth. Run now or die here. Grace, it's getting late. I gotta go. Bye. See you tomorrow. Ethan finished speaking and bolted, opening the door and rushing out at top speed, closing it behind him. Grace gritted her silvery teeth, blushing to the roots of her neck. Detestable. Let that smelly Ethan take advantage again. What did I say again? Then she recalled the scene where Ethan kissed her in public a while back, and her cheeks burned even hotter. Smelly Ethan, see if I don't fix you tomorrow? She huffed arrogantly, lay back on the bed, staring at the white ceiling, her heart racing for some reason. She turned to see the pink pig plushie on the headboard, grabbed it, and ruthlessly kneaded its face into various shapes. Squeeze you to death, smelly Ethan, always bullying me. But no matter how she squeezed, the pink pig always wore a smile. Now that smile looked a bit mocking. Grace angrily pulled at its face, still smiling. Detestable. On the other side, Ethan escaped from Grace's house and prepared to go home. As he reached his door, he saw it ajar and heard voices inside. Mom and Dad are back. Ethan was about to open the door when he heard his father, Frank Ford's, low voice. Tina, you know our family situation. We really don't have money. Mary has been seeing doctors recently, spent a lot, and we still owe medical bills. Can you lend me a little? Hearing this, Ethan was struck as if by lightning. He froze in place, not pushing the door open. Mom is sick. Then a sharp, mean voice rang out. Brother-in-law, where would I have money? Don't look at me having 2 clothing stores. I don't make any money every month. I don't have money to lend you. Ethan looked through the crack and saw the middle-aged woman speaking. It was his Aunt Tina. Her family ran clothing stores. She made the most money among the relatives, bought a house in the city early on, and drove a Volkswagen. But strictly speaking, the money to start her shop came from the relatives pooling cash for her. Ethan remembered his dad lent her the most back then, $2,000. At the time, that was the family's entire savings. Although his mom complained occasionally, she didn't say much since it was lent. Later, Aunt Tina succeeded, business was good, and after paying back the money 2 years later, she rarely contacted them. They only saw her during holidays back in the hometown. Since she struck it rich, she distanced herself from the relatives and never mentioned the money she borrowed back then. Inside, Frank heard this, his face looking grim, but he pleaded humbly, Tina, if we don't have money now, Mary's treatment can't continue. I'm begging you. Tina crossed her arms, lifted her chin slightly, and glanced at him sideways. Brother-in-law, begging me is useless. I really don't have money to lend. I sympathize with my sister's situation, but times are hard for everyone. Besides, if I lend it to you, I'm afraid you can't pay it back. You asked for $20,000? With your wages and a money pit at home, you won't save a dime all year. How will you repay? Isn't this just asking me to give you money for free? Frank's face looked even worse. He whispered, pleading, no, as long as you lend it, I'll work 2 jobs, I'll definitely pay you back. When Ethan goes to college, he can work part-time too. We'll pay you back soon. We just can't get over this hurdle right now. I really beg you, for the sake of us being family for so many years, for the sake that I helped you before, please. Standing at the door, Ethan's body trembled. He clenched his fists. His father had stood tall his whole life. He had never begged anyone so humbly. His father's words were like knives stabbing into his heart. Ethan didn't blame them at all. He only felt heartache. He hated himself for not sharing any of their suffering. Tina raised an eyebrow. You lent me $2,000 back then, and I already paid it back. I don't know your family anything. Besides, that kid Ethan, he's never been bright. His grades are average. Get into college? Even if he gets in, it won't be a good school. Expect him to earn money? If he can earn his own tuition, it'll be a miracle. Frank sighed heavily, his voice hollow. Really? You can't lend anything? If $20,000 won't work, any amount will do. I really just want to beg you. Help our family over this hurdle. Just this once. Tina looked cold. No, I really don't have money to lend you. All right, it's getting late. I should go back. I'm busy with work, lots of things to do. Don't call me unless it's urgent. I might not have time to answer. That's it. She stood up to leave before she even finished speaking. Tina walked toward the door, muttering under her breath. Lend money, my ass. Even if I had money, I wouldn't lend it to you people. She pulled the door open and was startled by a figure standing right there. Huh, Ethan? Ethan looked at her calmly. Yeah, leaving so soon, Aunt Tina? Not staying a bit longer? Oh, I have things to do. Another time. Tina glanced at Ethan, then walked straight past him, heading downstairs. Ethan looked back at her and shook his head. Relying on such snobbish relatives for help was hopeless. Ethan walked inside. Dad, I'm home. Frank's worried face squeezed out an ugly smile. Son, you're back. How was studying today? Ethan looked at him and sighed. Dad, why did you hide it from me? A what? Hide what? Frank's eyes showed panic. Why didn't you tell me Mom is sick? Ethan asked calmly, without a hint of blame in his voice. He knew his parents had given too much for this family. His father carried the whole house on his shoulders. For his mother, this proud man had put down all his dignity to beg and plead. Ethan didn't blame them at all. He only felt heartache. Frank froze. Father and son looked at each other in silence for a long time. The atmosphere was oppressive, like a heavy dark cloud over them. You know everything? You know everything? Frank looked at Ethan, a bitterness on his face. Yeah, I heard it all at the door. Where is Mom now? Ethan asked. She's at the hospital getting checked. George and Lily are there with her. Frank sighed, sitting down to smoke. His back looked even more hunched in the smoke. What? What kind of illness is it? Brain tumor. We checked before, luckily it's still benign, but if we don't operate, it could turn malignant. But the surgery, it costs at least $15,000 or $20,000. Frank said helplessly. Ethan didn't hesitate. Dad, let's get Mom the surgery immediately. Son, we don't have that kind of money. Frank sighed. I do. Huh? Son, are you joking? This is $15,000, not $15. Dad, I really have it. Ethan pulled out his phone, opened the text message, and handed the phone to him. Frank looked at him suspiciously, took the phone, saw the content of the message, and jumped. He looked at the numbers, dumbfounded, completely flabbergasted. My God, son, where did you get so much money? Frank felt a tidal wave in his heart, shocked enough to drop his cigarette. This is money I earned repairing and selling computers. I was going to surprise you guys today. I planned to use this to open a shop, but now let's use it to treat Mom first. No amount of money is more important than Mom's life. Ethan said deeply. He clenched his fists, nails digging into his palms. This time, he wouldn't have regrets. No matter what, no matter the cost, he would save Mom. Frank looked at the phone, then at Ethan, looking dazed, still in disbelief. But then, a smile finally broke on his face. His son was capable, so capable, beyond expectations. This money was a lifeline for the whole family. Okay, let's go to the hospital right now. Half an hour later, Frank and Ethan arrived at the hospital. In the infusion hall, they saw Grace's parents and Mary Ford. Mary saw Frank had brought Ethan and her expression changed. Why? Why did you bring Ethan? Ethan gave a bitter smile. Mom, you still want to hide it from me? Mary forced a smile on her pale face. Ethan, Mom's fine, just a little stomach trouble. Mom, no need to say it. Dad told me everything. I'll go handle the admission paperwork in a bit. Ethan shook his head and laughed. Even at this stage, his mother wanted to hide her condition just so he wouldn't worry and mess up the SATs the day after tomorrow. Mary glanced at Frank and smiled bitterly. Son, hospitalization costs a lot. The doctor said as long as I rest well, I don't need surgery. Frank interrupted. Don't worry about money. Our son is successful. He made a huge sum of money without making a sound. Huh? What? Mary froze. George Miller and Lily Miller were also stunned. Ethan made a huge sum of money. Ethan took out his phone and bank card, showing her the phone screen. The cash balance of over $15,000 left Mary dumbfounded. Son, where did you get this money? You didn't do anything illegal, did you? We're poor, but we can't do those things. Mary turned even paler. The amount terrified her. Ethan then explained about fixing and selling computers. After listening, Mary finally relaxed. Son, you are so capable. You will always be Mom's pride. Mary hugged Ethan happily, kissing his forehead several times, her excitement beyond words. Next to them, George and Lily were shocked beyond belief, looking at Ethan with astonishment. My goodness, Ethan, this kid knows how to make money. A light flashed in Lily's eyes. This kid, Ethan, is destined for greatness. My eye for people isn't wrong. I knew he was smart since he was little. Didn't expect him to have such a head for business. If Grace dates him later, it'll definitely be a good thing. Ethan didn't know that in this moment, he had become Lily's designated son-in-law. George patted Ethan's shoulder, happy. Good lad, I knew you made some money fixing computers, but I didn't expect this much. With this skill, you'll definitely go far. He turned to Frank and laughed. Frank, old buddy, with Ethan being so successful, you just wait to enjoy life. Frank's heart was blooming with joy, grinning from ear to ear. Enjoying life comes later. I'm just a working man. I just hope Ethan can be even more successful, become a talent. Then I'll be satisfied. There are no parents who don't want their children to succeed. Seeing Ethan make so much money at such a young age, he was greatly comforted. Enough talk, I'll go admit Mary. We'll arrange surgery as soon as possible. Stop it from turning malignant, Frank said quickly. Dad, I'll go with you. You go find the doctor for the admission slip. I'll go withdraw money, Ethan said. Okay. Father and son split up. Ethan went to a nearby ATM and withdrew $3,000 cash, enough for the deposit and meds, then rushed back. With money, the admission process went smoothly. Holding the admission slip, Frank finally let out a sigh of relief. It was like part of the pressure vanished instantly. Ethan handed the bank card to his father and instructed, Dad, take this card. The password is my birthday. Spend whatever it takes to cure Mom. If you need cash, go to the ATM. If it's not enough, you have to tell me. I'll find a way. Frank took the card, seeing Ethan's serious expression. In this instant, he felt his son had grown up. His son was a man now. His eyes grew moist, and he said with relief, Okay, Dad knows. They returned to Mary. After her four finished, they moved her to the inpatient tower. Once everything was settled, Frank stayed behind to keep her company. George, I might have to take a long leave of absence from you. Frank smiled bitterly. Mary needed someone with her after hospitalization until she was discharged post-surgery. Fortunately, the doctor said the success rate for removing this tumor was high, and recovery would take 2 to 3 weeks. The worst thing for this illness was delaying. Delay meant it could become cancer. Cancer meant painful, long treatment with low cure rates. So, a benign tumor was a blessing in disguise. Successful removal meant a cure. No problem, you focus on taking care of Mary. I'll approve a long leave, George said seriously. Ethan can eat with us these days. I'll take good care of him, don't worry. Frank felt warm inside. How many true friends do you get in life? One is enough. The two families have been close for 20 years, closer than brothers. Thank you, Frank said gratefully. Frank, why are you being polite with me? Honestly, George rolled his eyes at him. Ethan watched the two old friends and felt moved. For his father to have such a friend was enviable. Dad, I'll go back and bring your changes of clothes, Ethan smiled. Frank nodded. He thought for a moment, then instructed, Son, you have the SATs the day after tomorrow. Don't be under too much pressure. Focus on reviewing, focus on studying. I'm taking care of your mom. Don't worry too much. Absolutely do not let this affect your exams. Until your exams are over, you're not allowed to come here. Stay home and review, hear me? Ethan smiled bitterly. Seeing his father's serious expression, he had to agree. Okay. Dad, Mom, don't worry. I'll do well. After more instructions from Mary to study hard, thousands of soldiers crossing a single log bridge, getting into a good college depended on this. Ethan finally left with Grace's parents. Back home, Ethan packed clothes for his parents and rushed back to the hospital. By the time he finished running around and got back home, it was midnight. Ethan dragged his exhausted body onto the sofa and collapsed. Physically and mentally drained, he almost fell asleep right there. A knock at the door pulled him back from the trance. Who is it? Ethan rubbed his aching temples and got up to open the door. Ethan, it's me. Grace's crisp, melodious voice came from outside. Hearing her voice, Ethan instantly felt a bit more energetic. He opened the door to find Grace standing there in a loose nightgown, looking pretty. "Grace, why aren't you sleeping?" Ethan asked, surprised. "Aren't you up too? I saw your living room light on. Knew you weren't asleep." Grace walked in with her hands behind her back, making herself at home. Ethan followed her. "Just finished busy work. Little tired. Almost fell asleep on the couch." Grace sat on the sofa and patted the spot next to her, gesturing for him to sit. Ethan sat down beside her. Grace stared straight at him and comforted. "Ethan, I heard about your mom. The surgery will go smoothly. Don't worry too much. If you get a good score, maybe your mom will be happy and recover faster." Ethan paused. He didn't expect this girl to come over late at night just to comfort him. His heart felt warm. "Yeah, I know. I'll take the test seriously." Ethan smiled. Grace extended her left hand. "Give me your hand." What for?" Ethan paused, but placed his hand on hers. Grace held his hand and smiled sweetly. "Sharing a bit of my good luck with you." "Smelly Ethan, you have to do your best." Grace's big eyes held a look of special encouragement. She wasn't joking this time. She was serious. Ethan felt completely awake now, like he'd been injected with adrenaline. "Thank you." This was a heartfelt thank you from Ethan. "Hey, don't mention it. As your Princess Grace, it's my duty." Grace covered her mouth and laughed. Ethan grinned, pretending to forget to let go, and instead held her hand tightly. Why is Grace's hand so smooth, so soft? Holding it feels so good. Grace wanted to pull her hand back, but realized Ethan was still holding it. Her cheeks turned red. "Smelly Ethan, how long do you plan to hold on?" "I forgot Ethan reluctantly let go. Grace stood up. "All right, comfort mission accomplished. I should head back." That's it. Yeah, what else did you want?" "How about you comfort me with both hands?" Smelly Ethan, give you an inch and you take a mile." "No hands? Then use your mouth." "Mouth? How do I comfort you with my mouth?" "Cough. Say some encouraging words. As long as you encourage me, I could even take first place in the city." "TCH, keep dreaming." "Dreaming works too." What nonsense are you talking?" "Whatever, you win." "Ethan, good luck on the SATs. Work hard. Try to get into the top 1,000. 1,000? No way. I have to get top 10 in the city or state." "Ethan, it's dark. Take the test seriously." Ethan smiled. Grace extended her left hand. "Give me your hand." What for?" Ethan paused, but placed his hand on hers. Grace held his hand and smiled sweetly. "Sharing a bit of my good luck with you." "Smelly Ethan, you have to do your best." Grace's big eyes held a look of special encouragement. She wasn't joking this time. She was serious. Ethan felt completely awake now, like he'd been injected with adrenaline. "Thank you." This was a heartfelt thank you from Ethan. "Hey, don't mention it. As your Princess Grace, it's my duty." Grace covered her mouth and laughed. Ethan grinned, pretending to forget to let go, and instead held her hand tightly. Why is Grace's hand so smooth, so soft? Holding it feels so good. Grace wanted to pull her hand back, but realized Ethan was still holding it. Her cheeks turned red. "Smelly Ethan, how long do you plan to hold on?" "I forgot Ethan reluctantly let go. Grace stood up. "All right, comfort mission accomplished. I should head back." That's it. Yeah, what else did you want?" "How about you comfort me with both hands?" Smelly Ethan, give you an inch and you take a mile. "No hands? Then use your mouth." "Mouth? How do I comfort you with my mouth?" "Cough. Say some encouraging words. As long as you encourage me, I could even take first place in the city." "TCH, keep dreaming." "Dreaming works too." What nonsense are you talking?" "Whatever, you win." "Ethan, good luck on the SATs. Work hard. Try to get into the top 1,000. 1,000? No way. I have to get top 10 in the city or state." "Ethan, it's dark out. Not suitable for daydreaming. You should wash up and sleep." Grace yawned and stretched. When she stretched, her loose nightgown lifted significantly, revealing those long legs. Ethan's eyes went straight. Those legs must be very bouncy. "I'm going back now. I'm sleepy." "You sleep early." Grace waved goodbye. "You sleep first. I haven't finished my prep work. I'll sleep after." Ethan smiled. "All right, don't stay up too late." Grace yawned again and left. After she left, Ethan washed his face to wake himself up, then went to his room to study. Under the bright desk lamp, Ethan immersed himself in problem solving. He didn't know how much time passed. After finishing his work, intense drowsiness hit him, and he fell asleep on the desk. Ethan didn't know how long he slept until the piercing morning sunlight woke him. His body ached all over, the aftermath of sleeping on a desk. He was about to stretch when he noticed a blanket draped over him. It had a faint scent. Ethan turned to look at the pink blanket and smelled the familiar fragrance. No doubt, this belonged to Grace. He could remember her scent for a lifetime. Ethan, you awake? Grace's voice sounded from the doorway. Ethan looked over to see Grace wearing a blue skirt and an apron, holding a spatula, smiling at him. Grace, when did you get here? Grace pursed her lips. I called you from the window several times. You didn't react. So I came over early to see if you dropped dead. Ethan, hey, Miss Campus Queen, do you want me dead that badly? Aren't you afraid of being a widow? Grace blushed and glared at him, spitting. You're the widow. No, if you die, what's it to me? Get up, brush your teeth, wash your face, eat breakfast. Ethan suddenly looked at her wearily. Breakfast? Your mom made it. What? My parents had something to do and left early. They specifically told me to take good care of you. This lady not only covered you with a blanket, but personally made you breakfast. Let me tell you, other men don't have this luck. Hearing Grace made breakfast, Ethan secretly sucked in a breath of cold air. Grace, this luck. Can I pass on it? Grace lifted the spatula in her hand, humming. What do you think? Cough. Okay then, let me go wash up first. Ethan bolted out of the room into the bathroom. While brushing his teeth, he mentally prepared himself for martyrdom. Washed and ready, Ethan walked with tragic steps to the dining table and sat down. Tell me, Grace, what did you make? Grace brought over a pot of black sludge and placed it in front of him. Ethan looked at the pitch-black, unidentified object and swallowed hard. Grace, can you tell me? What is this? Grace put her hands on her hips, smiling proudly. This is my original Super Vitality Black Bean Oatmeal. Guaranteed to fill you with energy. One word popped into Ethan's mind. Danger. Are you sure? It's filled with energy, not embalming fluid. Besides this, pitch black oatmeal. How do you call it oatmeal? If they were related, they'd be distant cousins twice removed. Grace glanced at him. Less talking, more eating. Actually, she had learned a recipe online for iron-rich liver and oat porridge to boost energy. She had specifically copied the recipe into her notebook and followed the steps. To test her improved skills, she was using Ethan as a guinea pig. Okay, let me taste it first. Ethan spooned a tiny bit into a bowl, scraped a little with the spoon, and sniffed it. Why does it smell like vinegar? Confused, he put the porridge in his mouth. A sour and fishy taste shot straight through his brain. Ethan's face changed color. How is it? Good, Grace asked curiously. Ethan suppressed the urge to vomit and feign shock. Wow, it's so delicious. Grace, you have to taste this. It's really amazing. Ethan looked surprised and pushed the bowl to her. Success. I knew I had a talent for cooking. Grace laughed arrogantly. As soon as she finished speaking, she took Ethan's bowl and ate 2 big spoonfuls. Grace's face changed dramatically, and she sprayed everything she just ate right onto Ethan's secretly smug face. The smile on his face froze instantly. Grace Miller! Ethan looked at her through gritted teeth, enunciating every syllable. Grace looked embarrassed. Cough, sorry about that. But I clearly remember putting in soy sauce. Why is it vinegar? Ethan wiped rice grains off his face and looked at her like she was an idiot. Dummy, that was aged vinegar. Also, even if it was soy sauce, why would you put so much? Grace lowered her head, stole a glance at Ethan, and replied weakly. The recipe just said to taste. How was I supposed to know how much? I saw there was a lot of oatmeal, so I added a little extra. Really, just a little. A little? That was a lot. Ethan twitched his mouth, depressed. Forget it. Looks like this pot is inedible. I'll go wash my face. Let's go out for a breakfast skillet. Grace, you're treating. Ethan glanced at her. Grace pouted. Fine, I'll treat. After Ethan washed his face clean, the two went out to forage. They found a diner outside the neighborhood and ordered 2 sausage skillets, as usual. Grace, how's your review going? Ethan asked, slurping his coffee. It's okay. I'm somewhat confident about getting into a state university. You? Grace asked back. She was worried about Ethan. Although his grades had improved significantly in the last test, cracking the top 10 in class, his science scores were still shaky. It felt unstable. If both of them could get into a state U, go to the same college, that would be great. Me? I feel like I'm in the zone. I've been cramming literature and science recently. Should get a good score. Ethan smiled slightly. You're that confident? Grace was surprised. Of course. Ethan smiled. Since the last test, he had done targeted practice. Recently, on mock exams, he was getting near perfect on science. For literature, he focused on the essay sections. Getting a high score wouldn't be a problem. As for math and English, those were Ethan's strong suits. He passed college-level English easily. And math, As a computer major, his math was basically perfect. He tested himself on past SATs and could basically ace them. Getting into a state university was practically guaranteed, but his goal wasn't just that. He wanted the highest score possible, to get a good result and make his parents happy. Then good luck. Grace encouraged. Ethan, the exams are tomorrow. Let's go back and review after eating. One last sprint. Ethan nodded, looking serious. Okay, I'll sprint first. My speed will be very fast. What speed? Review speed. After breakfast, they went home to review together in Grace's room. Grace took out her math workbook, wanting to do some practice problems to consolidate her knowledge. She turned to look at Ethan beside her and saw him pulling 4 books of mock exams out of his bag. Math, English, literature, and science. Ethan, what are you doing? Isn't that exaggerating? You're not thinking of finishing all those mock exams today, are you? Grace was dumbfounded. Ethan smiled calmly. Yeah, is there a problem? I've done half of these 4 books already. I should be able to finish the other half today. Finishing these makes it a sure thing. Grace said, stunned. I don't believe you can finish them. Ethan rolled his eyes. What's hard about it? A mock exam, 90 minutes per subject. That's 6 hours for 4 subjects. Doing 2 rounds is 12 hours. Should be no problem, maybe even faster. Grace looked at him like he was a lunatic. Ethan, are you crazy? 12 hours. It's 9 a.m. now. You'll be writing until 10 or 11 p.m. Ethan grinned. You said it yourself. One last sprint. All right, I'm starting. Ethan opened the workbook and began his solitary mock exam marathon. Grace, seeing him immersed in the test, started her own practice. Time passed slowly as the two frantically solved problems. From daylight to nightfall, to the moon rising high, except for grabbing some noodles at noon and a few bites at dinner, they'd been bent over their desks working. In the blink of an eye, it was 9 p.m. George and Lily were in the living room reading magazines. It's 9 o'clock. Those 2 kids are still studying? They're working too hard. Lily checked the time, then looked at Grace's door. George flipped a page of his magazine. Exams start tomorrow. There's pressure. Sigh. Hope I don't get too stressed. It makes it easy to choke. They should relax. I'll make them some juice. Let them rest. Lily got up and went to the kitchen. A moment later, she brought 2 glasses of watermelon juice to Grace's door and knocked. Grace, Ethan, have some juice and take a break. Okay, Mom. I'm thirsty anyway. Grace's voice came from inside. Lily pushed the door open to find Grace slumped in her chair, eyes glazed over, while Ethan was still furiously writing. Here, you 2 worked hard today. Drink some juice, ease up. Lily put the juice on the desk. Grace rubbed her aching temples. It is tiring. Doing problems all day, my head is spinning. She picked up a glass and gulped it down. Ethan, want some? Grace looked at Ethan. All day, although they were in the same room, they hadn't said more than 10 sentences. Ethan had been doing problems continuously, high-intensity mock exams. Lasting this long really exceeded her expectations. Ethan, take a break too, Lily said worriedly, looking at Ethan's focused appearance. She was afraid he was putting too much pressure on himself. I'm okay, Aunt Lily. Just a second, almost done. Ethan replied without looking up. All right, remember to rest. Don't stay up too late. Tomorrow is the real battle. You need to save your energy, Lily instructed. Okay, Aunt Lily, I know. Ethan still didn't look up, his pen never stopping. Lily turned and left. Half an hour later, Ethan finally put down his pen and let out a long breath. 2 rounds of mock tests, finally done. He hadn't experienced this crazy problem-solving feeling in a long time. This state of total immersion was wonderful. He didn't feel tired while writing. But now that he was done, a wave of exhaustion washed over him. The fingers of his right hand felt sore and swollen from holding the pen for so long. Grace exclaimed from the side, Ethan, I didn't think you had it in you. You lasted longer than I expected. Ethan raised an eyebrow. I've always had stamina. Are you doubting my endurance? Let me tell you, going for hours is no problem at all. Grace felt his words sounded weird but snorted anyway. I didn't know you had such stamina before. Ethan grinned. Well, you'll definitely know in the future. When there's a chance, you can experience it personally. Grace rolled her eyes at him haughtily. I don't want to. You did 2 rounds of mocks. How were your scores? Grace glanced at his workbook curiously. Around 1,500 to 1,550 on the SAT scale equivalent. Ethan stretched and replied casually. Huh, what? 1,550. Grace covered her mouth in shock, looking incredulous. That score was scary. The top score in the state last year was only around 1,500, but then she thought this was just a mock test. High scores on mocks were normal. In the real exams, getting above 1,400 would be a miracle. The cutoff for state U was high. Most students ended up in community college or trade schools. Ethan, good luck. I hope you can get that score on the real thing. Grace encouraged. Ethan turned to look at her. That counts as a blessing? Shouldn't you hope I get a better score than that? Grace rolled her eyes and scoffed. You dream big. Getting the cutoff score is good enough, and you want that score? Don't think you can slack off just because the mock went well. Tomorrow is the real fight. Ethan grinned. After these 2 rounds, I'm pretty confident. But don't worry, I won't slack off. I'll give the exams everything I've got. Grace nodded with relief. That's right. Let's go all out. But drink your juice first, rest a bit. You've been writing all day. Even a body of steel can't take that. Ethan patted his chest. My body is awesome. As soon as the words left his mouth, he felt his fingers cramp. His expression changed. Cramp. His right hand fingers curled up uncontrollably from the high-intensity gripping. The muscle seized, bringing sharp pain. Don't move, I'll help you. Grace quickly grabbed his cramping index finger and thumb and began to massage and press rapidly to relax the muscle. Under her rubbing, the cramp eased a lot, but the fingers were still sore. Ethan looked at Grace's anxious face, feeling warm inside. This girl really cares about me. How is it? Better. Grace looked up and asked with concern. Better, but still a bit sore. Ethan took a big gulp of watermelon juice with his left hand, calming his nerves. I'll help you relax it then. Grace lowered her head again, carefully moving his finger joints. Ethan watched her exquisite face, a faint fragrance drilling into his nose, tickling his heart. Her hands were smooth and white, soft, as if boneless. Every touch felt like an electric current. So comfortable. Smelly Ethan. See what happens when you push so hard? Cramped now, didn't you? Grace nagged as she massaged and stretched his fingers. 10 minutes later, she looked up again. How about now? Good. Ethan hadn't enjoyed it enough yet. How could it be good? He rolled his eyes and clutched his waist. Fingers are fine, but my back is so sore. Sat too long. Did I throw my back out? How about? You press it a bit. Grace said grumpily. Humph. What's with you? Hurt here, hurt there. Taking me for servant. Ethan held his waist, pretending to endure pain. All right, I won't trouble you. I should be able to handle it. Don't worry. I'll probably be fine after a rest. Seeing him like this, Grace hesitated, then huffed. Fine. Lie on the bed. I'll massage you. A gleam of triumph flashed in Ethan's eyes. Time to enjoy a massage from the campus queen. If this gets out at school, I'd probably be hunted down by her countless admirers. Ethan moved cleanly onto the bed, lying on his stomach. Grace, I'm ready. Grace glared at him. If I wasn't afraid of affecting your exams tomorrow, this lady wouldn't touch you. Words aside, she dutifully sat beside Ethan and pressed his back with both hands. Grace's technique was amateur, but she was strong. Brute force creates miracles, so it felt pretty good. Ethan felt the warmth of her fingers on his lower back, the pressure heavy then light, very soothing. Feels good. Grace a bit lower. Yes, right there. Harder. In the living room, Lily had just finished washing up and was getting ready for bed when she heard strange noises coming from Grace's room. Honey, what are they doing in there? Lily asked curiously. George put down his magazine. I don't know, but it's late. They should rest. If they don't sleep well, they won't have energy for the exam tomorrow. It'll affect their performance. He got up and walked over, but froze at the door. What's wrong? Lily saw his expression and walked over curiously. She reached the door and froze too, hearing the sounds inside. Grace, faster. Yes, faster. That feels so good. I'm going fast already. Or should we switch positions? Sure. How about you get on top of me? Try that position. Okay, but don't move around. Let me do the moving. George and Lily looked at each other, expression shocked. WH, what are those 2 kids doing? George pointed at the door, stunned. Lily quickly pushed the door open, only to see Grace sitting on Ethan's legs, massaging his back. Mom? What's wrong? Grace asked blankly, seeing her parents burst in. What are you doing? Lily secretly let out a sigh of relief. Oh, Ethan said his back was sore, asked me to help press it. Grace replied seriously. I thought you guys were. Mom, thought we were what? Cough, nothing. All right, you guys continue. Rest early after you're done. Lily quickly closed the door. George looked weird. Cough, looks like we misunderstood. All right, let's go to bed. Lily shook her head and laughed. Guess I worried too much. But these 2 kids are growing up. Looks like I'll need to teach them some of that knowledge later. Safety first. Inside the room, Grace scratched her head in confusion. What was with Mom's look just now? Why was it so weird? Ethan secretly laughed. Aunt Lily probably misunderstood something. Yeah, probably just surprised you were willing to give me a massage. Come on, let's continue. Ethan lifted his waist, moving to a more comfortable spot. Grace suddenly noticed his waist seemed perfectly fine. Is this smelly Ethan tricking me? Grace, don't just stare. Let's keep going. Ethan grinned. Seeing his face, Grace guessed about 70 or 80% of it. Fine, smelly Ethan, order me around. You want a massage? I'll give you a good one. A cunning glint flashed in Grace's beautiful eyes. Okay, let's continue. Lie flat now. I'm going to demonstrate some Thai massage. Grace pinched the soft flesh at his waist and twisted. Ow! Ethan cried out in pain, his face changing color. Then Grace grabbed his legs and bent them upwards, nearly folding him in half. Crap! Pain! G'da! Grace, what are you doing? Grace huffed. I'm using Thai techniques to massage you. Bear with it. No. Ow! After being tortured by Grace for 10 minutes, Ethan used a bathroom break as an excuse to finally escape, sprinting back to his own room. This girl is strong. Ethan lay on his bed sucking in cold air, body aching all over. At least she didn't disassemble his bones. Ethan, didn't you say you were going to the bathroom? Why did you run? Grace's bell-like laughter rang from outside the window. Ethan got up, opened the window, and saw Grace leaning on the sill, looking smug. Cough, it's too late today. Exams tomorrow. No more massage. Ethan laughed dryly. Oh my, I haven't finished my Thai techniques yet. How can we just leave it? Grace, another day. Another day. All right then, Ethan. Welcome to come play again next time. Grace gave him a seductive glance, then closed the window. Ethan got goosebumps all over. Let you massage again? Don't want to live? Absolutely no next time. The night passed without words. The next morning, Ethan was woken up as usual by the thumping on the window. Ethan, wake up. Ethan opened his eyes, rubbing the sleep away. Since Grace started waking him up every day, he had thrown away his alarm clock. Why use a clock when a campus queen wakes you up personally? He got to enjoy a unique wake-up service every day. I know, Ethan responded, getting up to open the window. Grace was tying her ponytail by the window, as always, her beautiful face radiating youth. Morning, Grace. Morning, smelly Ethan. They greeted each other. Grace finished tying her hair. Today is the first day of the exams. My mom made a big breakfast. Come eat. We'll go to school after. Grace was extra serious today, not joking around with Ethan. Ethan could see she was under pressure. The exams were here. Most students were bound to be nervous. But Ethan wasn't taking the SATs for the first time, and he had confidence, so he wasn't nervous at all. Okay, I'll wash up and come over. Ethan smiled. Closing the window, Ethan jogged out to wash, spent a few minutes getting ready, changed into new clothes, grabbed his bag, and knocked on Grace's door. The door opened. Grace was wearing her loose school uniform, as usual. Although she looked youthful and pretty in it, it completely hid her perfect figure. If she were a pleated skirt uniform, that would be a knockout. Ethan's heart stirred, looking forward to seeing Grace in different outfits. What are you staring at? Come in. Grace saw him smiling foolishly, drooling slightly, with a perverted grin. She rolled her eyes. Okay. What grand breakfast did Aunt Lily make? Seafood bisques, scallion omelets, and crullers. Wow, so fancy. I'm drooling. My mom went to the seafood market early this morning to buy crab and shrimp for the soup. Worked hard on it. They sat at the table and began to feast. Eat slowly, there's time. Lily came out of the kitchen smiling. Aunt Lily, your cooking is amazing. This breakfast smells so good. Ethan praised loudly. Eat more if you like it. There's plenty. Lily was happy. Ring, ring. Suddenly the landline rang. Lily went to answer it, then called out, Ethan, it's your dad. Got it. Ethan put down his bowl and chopsticks and walked over to take the phone. Hey, Dad, what's up? Son, today is the first day of exams. You have to do your best. Take it seriously, but don't stress too much. As long as you give it your all, the score doesn't matter. Just have no regrets. On the phone, Frank taught earnestly. Ethan knew his parents' biggest hope was probably these exams. Getting a good score to justify 3 years of high school. Getting into a good college to have a brighter future. Okay, Dad, I know. Don't worry, I'll do my best. Ethan nodded heavily. Good. Father and son chatted briefly about Mary's surgery. After the doctor's consultation yesterday, they decided to operate the day after tomorrow. That was the day after exams finished. After chatting for a while, Frank hung up, not wanting Ethan to worry too much about it and affect his performance. Ethan returned to the table and finished his soup. I'm full. Grace, let's head out. Okay. They went to school together, arrived at the homeroom to pick up exam tickets, and prepared pens, erasers, rulers, and other tools. Ethan, which testing center are you at? Tank poked his head over and asked curiously. Riverdale High. You. Awesome, me too. Ha, we have company. Tank was happy. Let's go together then. Ethan nodded. He looked at Grace sitting in the front row. Grace, Which center are you at? Grace seemed distracted and didn't hear him. Ethan reached out and tugged her bra strap through her shirt. Grace! Grace reacted, glaring at Ethan. What? Why are you so distracted? Ethan asked, puzzled. I'm a little nervous. Grace smiled bitterly, admitting it. She had felt the pressure of her parents' expectations for a long time. The greater the expectation, the greater the pressure. Today, she felt like her soul had left her body. Give me your hand. Ethan smiled and extended his right hand. Grace paused but placed her hand in his. Ethan held her hand. Last time you gave me luck. Today I'll give you confidence. Grace Miller, you are the best. Grace's heart shook, and she laughed out loud. Of course, this lady will definitely get into state you. She quickly recovered her usual confident, high-spirited smile. Thank you, Ethan. Grace thanked him sincerely. No problem. What are we, strangers? So, can you let go of my hand now? Oh, I forgot. Stop pretending, smelly Ethan. You did it on purpose.